Run it up.
Hello, and it's a very good morning on day 2 of the 2024 Para-Athletics World Championships here at the Kobe Universiade Memorial Stadium. I don't need to tell you about the weather, do I? Have a look at that. A glorious sun-kissed day here for the second morning of these championships. 9 days in total, finishing in a week's time on the Saturday evening local time. And on the opening day, we had 13 finals. Today, we have 18. 7 in the morning, and there will be 11 in the evening session as well. Wonderful stadium for para-athletics. The crowds have been flocking in, as they have again this morning. Local school children enjoying their day in the sunshine. Hats, sun cream, fans to keep yourselves cool, because the weather does get reasonably warm during the daytime, and it is quite reflective over where they are on the far side. So what have we got coming up today? We're starting off with the seated discus throw, women's F57 for that one. There'll be 12 going in that. Nasser Saifi, the reigning champion, will be going in that one. We also have the javelin throw, F13, for the least of the visual impairment categories, which also gets us underway. We'll round off the day with one of the wheelchair events, women's 5,000 metres T54. There'll only be 3 going in that. It'll be a 1-medal event for that one, due to only 3 people going in it. But it is a packed schedule again in the morning session, with 7 gold medals up for grabs in it. The likes of James Turner will be going this morning as well, the men's 400 metres T36 champion. Tickets Mengitsu, who in Tokyo won Ethiopia's first Paralympic gold medal, will also be going as well. That's in the women's 1500 metres T13 final. You can see from those flags there, there's not much of a breeze fluttering around this stadium. A couple of days back, just before competition started, it was rather strong. Day 1, it wasn't too bad, and today it's set fair for what promises to be a wonderful morning. That gives you an idea. Yesterday it was a swirling wind at times. Sometimes it was into the athletes' faces in that long jump pit. Other times it was giving them a slight tailwind. But the school children, well, it's Saturday, but they still managed to come along and watch what is a quite fantastic opportunity for them at such a young age, to see high-class athletes in action. That's what I like to see, the sun cream being applied. You can never have too much of that when you're out in those UV rays, but it's great to see the sun out for it as well. Look at those blue skies in a stadium that holds 36,000 people, built back in 1985 for the 1985 Summer University Games. We also have rugby played here with the Kobe Steelers and Kobe Vassell, who are the J-League team here in Japan, in football, soccer, whichever way you want to call it, the round ball game, the beautiful game. They play here as well from time to time. So the javelin throw will be the second event to go in the morning. That gets underway at 9:15. The F13, Xiao Yuping will go in that, the 3-time world champion. China off to another decent start. Brazil lead the medal table, by the way. Yeltsin Jacks with a quite wonderful world record in the men's 5,000 metres T11 on the opening morning. Set the mood in day 2. Wherever you're watching, whether you're on the Para-Athletics YouTube page, Facebook page, or any other medium you are watching through, you're very welcome. It'll get underway at 9 a.m, just coming up to Japanese local time. So wherever you're watching around the world, we hope you enjoy this second day of 9 in what is a quite massive year. First time ever we've had the Para-Athletics World Championships in the same year as the Paralympic Games. Back-to-back being in Paris last year in July, so less than a year in between these games. I'm Tolson Tollett. Will Downing is alongside me, as is a former world champion and European champion, Steph Reid. Good morning to you.
Good morning. It has been an absolutely fabulous start to these games, and something that made me so happy on our train ride in. I was sitting beside a gentleman who was going through the Kobe Japanese newspaper, and on it in the sports section, about 4 different photos dedicated to the coverage yesterday. There was a photo of Kenya Kawasawa, who won bronze in the 5,000 yesterday. There was one of Sonomi Sakai, who competed in the long jump, and there was also a photo of Akimi Masuda, chair of the LOC. And one of the things she has been saying across the number of different speeches she's been given as she hosts these games was, we're ready. We are really, really ready. These championships were postponed twice, and one of the things that all of the athletes and all of the officials have said is how organized and on time everything has been. They really have thought of everything.
Yeah, they have, and it's great to see that it's finally got here, because the Tokyo Paralympic Games obviously had no crowds. People couldn't go in to watch there, and that was a fantastic event. It was just an unfortunate turn of events with COVID and everything which was happening, that it struck around the same time as these championships were due to be held as well. So it's great it's underway, and it's been a fantastic start. We have world records already to start with. You can see the blocks there. That's the first track event of the morning, which will be the men's 400 metres T36. That gets underway in around half an hour after we've got ourselves going with those 2 field events. There's the long jump pit as we head down to what will be that first seated, the women's discus throw F57, which will get us underway in that opening event. Now this will be all 6 throws are taken at the same time. There's a field of 12 going in this one, scheduled to go. We had the qualification yesterday for 6 of the athletes, which was cut down to 4 that joined the 8 which had already qualified. Stela Aniva, you can see there in the chair ready to go. Gold medalist in the European Championships back in 2014 Swansea. She's also the actual reigning Paralympic champion in shot put. Is Stela Aniva there. 29.29 is her season best to date. Sophie Liddell of Algeria will go as well, and all the way down we see Nassima Saifi, who is the reigning champion, and Kamdamova is the Paralympic champion from Uzbekistan. So we'll have both the world and Paralympic champions going up against each other in this one. So Aniva, who is the silver medalist back in Beijing 2008 and 2012, is already seated. So the remaining 11 in place there. Safia Jalal of Algeria, the reigning shot put champion at the Paralympics. Lifetime best of 31.23 for her in the discus throw. There is one F56 athlete going in this as well. I'll let you know when we get there. Kamdamova, who won silver last year in Paris. She's the reigning Paralympic champion. Tirasuran was 9th last year. Lifetime best of 22.72 set this year. Tian of China. Lifetime best of 29 metres flat for her. Ortiz Hernandez who came 8th last year. Floralia Estrada Bernal of Mexico, who took the bronze medal, looking to go 1 or 2 better this year. Nguyen of Vietnam, 27.55, her lifetime best, made a debut back in 2008 in Beijing. Prentice Muriel, 28.84, her lifetime best. Sophie, the reigning champion, she's a twice Paralympic champion as well, and Zhu Mian, 31.49, her lifetime best. And from Greece, Keramida rounds out the field. There is the athlete who's going to go first, the European champion from 2014, Stella Eneva, twice a silver medalist at the Paralympic Games in Beijing and in London. Plenty of experience. No complaints about the weather. Barely a breeze to speak of. 12 to go, so it may take a little while to get through those dozen or so athletes. It may well be the first event to start and the last to finish in this morning session. It does take a bit of time for the 6 throws. They do get a break after their opening 3, and I know we've talked about this before, Steph, but you're of the opinion that going first sometimes is a benefit.
I love going first. I love getting it out there and set the mark, but particularly in a seated throws event, as you've said, it can take quite some time to get through. If you go first, you can perfectly plan and time your warm-up, whereas if you are later on in the lineup, then you don't know if it's going to be an hour, going to be 2 hours. Weather like this, you have to be mindful that you're sitting out there in the sun, and you really have to take care to make sure that you stay calm and relaxed and fresh. However, the benefit of going a little bit further down the line, so for example, we have our world champ, Safi of Algeria, it does mean that you always have that right of response. You know what's gone before you, because in the seated throws, the athletes will take all 6 throws at once. And the reason for that is simply it is quite the process to move the athletes into and out of the circle. You have to take great care to strap the chair down, to make sure that the athlete is in the position they want to, because that chair, that is their support. That's what's giving them that stable base to throw from.
And we saw a couple of yellow cards given yesterday for non-compliance of equipment. I won't go into the rule which one it is, but it was for non-compliance of equipment. So if the equipment isn't in the correct order and the height is not correct before they start the actual competition themselves, then they've got a chance to change it.
Exactly. It is the responsibility of all athletes across all events to ensure that their equipment meets the standards and that it is ready to go. So when athletes show up to the call room, particularly with these chairs, they are heavily regulated. Things are measured. It has to make sure that everything's okay. You can see just now Eneva is just preparing herself, making sure that she has her water and getting those straps set down. But if you get to the call room and there's an issue with it, you will get a yellow card. The official will give you the opportunity to make amends if you can do it timely, but they can't let you continue on if you're going to delay the rest of the athletes.
Now, I was going to say to you yesterday, you mentioned about if it was too high, you could take the cushion out and you'd be lower down. Now, what happens if you decided to get the saw out and saw the bottom of the chair off? Would that count?
I think as long as you can come within the rules. And actually saying that, they do always have an equipment lab that is in the training area. I don't know the athlete would have quite enough time from the call room to head there, but when you're traveling, things happen, things get broken. It's constant fear of all the athletes who have to check in their chairs. The first thing they do is get their chairs and check them immediately to make sure that nothing has been damaged. But part of the Paralympic Games is that a lot of reliance is on technology. Technology is a wonderful thing. It is the thing that allows so many athletes to compete in the sport, but it does take a lot of effort to make sure that that equipment matches what your body can do as well.
And people laugh when I take a blowtorch with me and I go away. You have to have all the equipment. You have to be ready to go. And talking about ready to go, Stella Eneva has been ready to go for a good few minutes now. So they will get practice throws. All the athletes get those, as well as their 6 competitive attempts. And the hardest part, I guess, about this would be if you go down to, for example, the way it's seated at the moment, Keramita, I think he's going to go last. You would have to wait there for a long time. I know there's shade out there and so forth, but you're out there for a very long period of time, sitting around waiting for your go when it comes to the seated events.
And I think just as much as keeping yourself physically ready to go, there's also that emotional aspect, because you come out into the stadium, you hear the cheers, you are ready to go, and then you're asked to sit for a good 2 or 3 hours. And so you really want to make sure that you're managing those emotions and that excitement. And some athletes will choose to really pay attention to the competition and what their competitors are doing. Some athletes won't, because regardless of what your competitor does, your job is always to get into that circle and throw your absolute best.
Well, it already seems to be an issue out here for Stella and Neva. The judges are out there just checking the equipment. Now, we were supposed to get underway 5 minutes ago at 9 o'clock. She's now had to take the strap off. Now, the prosthesis they're talking about there is okay, but there seems to be another issue.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. No. This one has to be here.
Well, there's the reigning champion, Nassima Saifi, in the green top there to the left of the screen.
And this is
Jalal, the reigning shot put Paralympic champion there. They're all having a look, wondering what's going on, I'm sure, but nothing they haven't seen before.
I was going to say, this is exactly the kind of facial expression I would expect from the athletes. You can see they're vaguely interested, but also just in their own zone, just kind of tuned out, keeping themselves focused, not wanting to let their emotions get too far away from them.
Well, that's to come, the discus throw, F57. If we work our way down to the far end there, we'll see the other event, which is due to get underway at 9:15, the women's javelin throw, F13, for the least of the visual impairment categories. So a field of 10 to go in this one. The 3-time world champion set to go, Xiao Yuping of China. All looks rather calm down there. All the action is happening up the other end at the moment, or the lack of action, I should say, because of the officials just questioning what's going on. So let's have a look at the javelin throw start list. Kulinic Sorokina there, who won silver back in 2012 in London. She's also a 3-time European champion. There is Xiao Yuping, yet to set a season best. Now she looks ahead towards the Paralympic Games, but she is that 3-time world champion. As I mentioned, she took silver back in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo in 2020. Always looks a bit ominous, doesn't it, with the athletes sitting there and the official just wandering around looking at everyone.
Well, it's quite a difficult environment, because here you are in really close contact with the people you now want to go out and beat and win. And I think you can see again the facial expressions ranging from, perhaps you might think, disinterest or boredom, a really intense focus, and it's just up to each athlete to figure out what works for them in terms of bringing out that performance. And I often would describe athletes a little bit like, I guess, like panthers. You know, you kind of just sit quietly in your own little corner doing your own thing until it's your turn to go, and then you are on.
Well, there's focus there. There's no doubt whatsoever about that.
I think this is also the most nerve-wracking part of the competition, just waiting. The moment you step up for your turn, then it's familiar. Then you're out there doing exactly what you do day in and day out. But it really is those moments leading up where you really just have to manage those nerves.
Meanwhile, at the far end, the big guns are being called in to try and work out what the issue is. Now, you can see from Neva's body language there that she's not too impressed. The arms keep on flying out. She's wondering what's going on. Although it looks like we might be ready to go. The leg straps are back on. I think I heard a couple of thank yous in there, so that should be sorted.
I think we can see here just the degree of scrutiny that happens as the athletes are competing and preparing. And it's exactly right, because you don't want an athlete to take all 6 throws and for them to be an issue after. You really need to make sure everything is sorted out before you get going.
It's a long time to be sitting in the chair, though, and having to be... You're almost using up all that mental energy because you're trying to fight your cause about why you should be allowed to go and what's the difficulty in that situation. So it is quite difficult for the lady who's won a couple of Paralympic silver medals. She won the European Championships back in Swansea in 2014. And she's now ready to get those practice throws underway.
In the F57 class, these athletes have full use of their torso, so you can really see as she winds up, twisting the torso. Sometimes on the chair, you'll have a bar or an area for the athlete to hold on to, simply because they wouldn't be able to keep their balance any other way. But
well, I say practice throws. She actually just had them before we came back down when we were looking at the javelin. So 29.15 is the opening attempt for Stella and Neva. Her lifetime best, 31.88. 29.29 is her season best, so 14 centimetres shy of that. So she'll get 3 attempts before she'll then get a chance to rest and reposition. I suggest she won't reposition because she's taken so long to get into that correct position she's in, that she'll stay where she is. Out around the 30-metre mark again. Such power, isn't it?
And actually, the view we have from there would be a similar view to what the judge, we sometimes call the butt judge, will have. Because in the seated throws, I mean, it might seem a little bit weird that we're spending some time focusing on athletes' backsides. However, it does matter because you need to ensure that the back of the thighs, and if you're a biology major, the ischial tuberosity, that has to be attached to the seat at all times. In order to keep the competition fair, the legs cannot be used at all to generate any power.
The second attempt has gone. They're still waiting for a mark on that one. And that one's out around the 30-metre mark as well.
During the 1 minute rest. 1 minute rest you need.
So you just heard there, 1 minute's rest if you need. I always think unless you're in a real dire situation that it's almost better to just continue on with it if you feel like you're in a real groove.
It's also difficult because if you're not in a groove, you have very little time to adjust and reset.
Well, it looks like there might be a bit of an issue with the system at the moment because 29.15, the first attempt, is the only one which is registered. She has had 2 more attempts since then, has Neva. Now here's a difficult thing as well. You want to know what you've thrown as well. So she's thrown her first 3. Only one of those scores has come up as far as distance goes, so she's now waiting for the other 2 to register. So all looks better as far as the position she's been in goes. Just waiting for her distances to come up. So 12 to go in total. 29.79 is the second attempt. That's a season best by 50 centimetres for Stella Neva. 29.29 was her best before that one. Now she has thrown 3, so we're still waiting for the third one to drop as well. This will be attempt number 4 in a moment or two's time. She's had that rest, she's had the break, and she's ready to go again. Well, she's consistent, there's no doubt whatsoever about that one. All dropping around the same area. Just can't quite get over that 30-metre mark at the moment. Now, if you're going to get into the medals, you're really probably going to have to get over that 30-metre mark, Steph. Because if you look at the reigning champion, if you look at Saifi, her best this year is 33.59, 35.76 is her lifetime best. And there's about 4 or 5 of them who have thrown over 30 metres this year.
That's the hard thing about going first. And actually, as I was watching Aneva throw, I wonder if perhaps she would have preferred the conditions that we encountered on Thursday before we started with that big wind. And actually, we talk a lot about wind. Discus is one of those events where they love a headwind. It actually picks up the disc a little bit like a sail. So while the rest of us sprinters and long jumpers are chasing a tailwind, they actually love a headwind.
Well, 29.25 is her third attempt, which has just dropped. Now, she had that good 3 or 4 minutes ago. We're waiting for attempt number 4 to drop. She's only got 2 left at the moment, so we're a little slight bit behind on the scoring system. So this is actually attempt number 5. A bit more slice out to the right with that one.
Now, in most field events, in the ambulant field events, the athletes are able to go and have a bit of a conversation with the coach. And with these events, you can see her turning around and she's trying to communicate with her coach, who's in the stands about 30 to 40 meters away from her. And just trying to figure out what is it that I need to do to get myself over that 30-meter line.
Yeah, this is one of the harder ones, isn't it? Because you're not in a position where you can just wander on over and have a chat with your coach after you've made an attempt. When you've got all 6 at the same time and you are strapped into the seat, you just have to have a look and hope you can make eye contact and get some sort of visual, vocal contact that's going to actually help out.
Athletes and coaches will often have a system of hand signals worked out, because sometimes actually the crowd is just so loud you can't even hear what your coach is saying.
Well, 28.53 was attempt number 4. Now, by my reckoning, she's had 5. So unless I've missed something, this will be the final attempt for the Bulgarian. Well, she's been out in that chair now for about half an hour. She was in there ready to go at about 10 to 9 o'clock local time, and it's now coming up to 20 minutes past 9 local time.
And this is why in the seated throws only 12 are allowed in the final. In the ambulant throws and the ambulant field events, you can have 16. And so we had a qualification yesterday because there was more than 16 in the field, and it just comes down to time. We can see how long it takes for the women to get through their throws. And yesterday in the women's F32 club, which kicked off our evening session at 5 p.m., they also closed the session in quite a dramatic finale 3 hours later.
At the end, so that you have 7 trials, okay? Because the second was missing, it was our fault, I'm very sorry.
Okay, if you heard that then,
okay.
The second one is missing as far as the score goes, and they've apologised to the officials, so Stella Neva is going to get 7 attempts. So what they're saying now is she's still got 2 more attempts to go. So there was an issue with the measuring system. So instead of having 6, she's going to get 7. Now, that could be a bad thing, because if you've got a really good throw that's gone out there in your second one and they can't use it, then it doesn't benefit you in any way whatsoever.
No, it is tricky, and actually it was her earlier throws that were her better throws. But in this event, the officials have to make a call, and they want to do the thing that they feel is the most fair for the athlete throwing and for the rest of the field. And in this case, that is offering 7 trials.
If you know where it's dropped, though, and they've got the mark in the ground, surely if the mark's there and they're not sure about it, they can use the manual measure. Well, there's plenty of debate going on. The measurer has moved back to the middle of the quadrant, so here we go again. So this will be throw number 5. In effect 6, but it will be throw number 5. And that 29-meter mark again. Well, we'll get onto the track very soon as well. We've got the opening track event which is coming up, which is the men's 400 metres T36. James Turner of Australia, the reigning champion, will go in the second heat of that one. .28.53 for the 4th attempt of Aneva. We are still waiting for the mark on that 5th one.
Okay? Thank you.
That's interesting what the official just said there. Aneva has a very specific way that she likes to prepare herself, and what she was doing is she was spitting on the discus before she grabbed it and carried on with her process of then twisting the discus, and the official has come over and just said that is not allowed.
Well, 28.85 with that 5th attempt. So no improvement on 29.79. It is a season best, 29.79, so we mustn't make light of the fact that a second attempt, which counted, is a season best. But she'll be wanting to get that extra 21 centimetres and get up to that 30-metre mark. Well, that's happening down there. A bit laborious, the process, you have to say, but it is happening. At the other end, something else is happening, the javelin. Women's javelin throw F13.
We're going to join Zhao Yuping of China. First attempt. Back to Benalou of Algeria leading 31.46. Certainly confused the crowd far side. So Benalou is our early leader for Algeria, 31.46. And that, by a long way, is the lead for Zhao for China, 44.86. Benalou setting an African record with her first attempt. That is just a metre off her lifetime best. Fatma Ismail now going for Bulgaria. So this is F13. This is the category of least visual impairment, but it's a maximum of 20% vision. Ismail is an F12. A lot of these are F12s actually, which is medium visual impairment, which is up to 5% vision. If you're wondering what that's like, it equates to 5% voice. Natalia Eder of Austria. Now, very often we've seen her on the podium. Certainly at a European level.
What?
And Eder going here, she's 43 these days, and that's heading out to 37 meters. Now, that is around her season's best. And that actually should get her up into the podium positions in this opening round. There are 10 in this final. Obviously, we've been concentrating on the discus a lot. So those of you who complain you don't see enough field events, you've seen more than enough field events already. You can never complain again, and neither can Natalia Eder, because that was 36 meters, and that puts her into the silver medal position straight away. Benalu is knocked down to bronze, and Serap Demirkapu of Turkey is knocked out of the medals for now, and a lifetime best she threw as well of 31.15. That's very unfortunate for her, but she's going to have to find another throw of her life to get into the lead. Back to Stella.
Yeah, 28.98 for Stella's final attempt, so no improvement on that second one. Is a season best, 29.79. She's the first to go, and there's another 11 to go coming up very shortly.
It's a lovely morning, and it's supposed to hit 28 Celsius, which definitely makes up for the last 2 nights. I was actually wondering why the evening sessions start at 5 and end at 8, which is quite early, but as soon as the darkness falls, the temperature absolutely plummets. And these are an out-of-season World Championships as well, very much. It's in an unusual time of year because of the number of times they were postponed. That's a decent one over 30 from Bakta Benalu. Now, she had that African record at F13 in the previous round of 31.46, which had her in the medals for quite a while in this opening round, but 4th place is good for now. It means she's very much a contender. I've already seen Demirkapu. By the way, when we were going back to Stella Neves, she actually threw another lifetime best of 31.82 to go back into the bronze medal position. Benalu with another African record to go up to 31.68, but she stays in 4th position. That is beginning to heat up. First action on the track is on the way.
Yeah, the men's 400 metres T36, the opening round. James Turner, who holds the world and championship record, he'll go in the second of the heats. We have 5 going in the opener, including the man who finished second to James Turner last year in Paris. Also from Oceania, William Stedman of New Zealand. So all 5 are set to go. There are no non-starters. Evgeny Shvetsov, 10-time European gold, 6-time World Championship gold, and 3-time Paralympic champion as well. William Stedman, who I just mentioned, second to James Turner last year in Paris, bronze medalist in Tokyo in 2021. Those delayed Paralympic Games. So Stedman will go from 5. Shvetsov will go out in lane 8. First 3 will qualify automatically from each heat. Then we'll have the next 2 fastest qualifiers will advance through to the final. There is the man who's racing as a neutral para-athlete, Evgeny Shvetsov. Won Paralympic gold back in 2012 in London. In 13 in Lyon and 15 in Doha, he also won gold. Ahmad Fizi Rosny, 24 years of age, from Malaysia, will go in lane 7. Bakar Eddin Thalaja of Algeria, 24 years of age, at his first major championships, 55.94, his lifetime best. The man who took silver last year, 53.55 is his lifetime best, season best of 54.22, William Stedman. And Marian Petria, who was 7th in the final last year in Paris, will go out in lane 4
400 meters
from Romania.
T36, round 1, heat 1, starts now.
So the 2 to look out for will be Shvetsov in 8 and Stedman in 5. You would expect those 2 to automatically qualify, along with one other. And then 2 from this will then have a bit of a nervy wait to find out whether they are through to the final.
Fair.
So they get away. Stedman up to a very quick start along with Shvetsov out there on the outside lane. Always a bit more difficult running in lane 8 because you're not sure what's coming up on the inside, but I can tell you that Stedman is coming up on the inside of him at the moment, as well as Algeria's Thalaija as well is looking strong. But Stedman is just racing around there. He knows there's only 3 to go through, so he's got no real issues with that. Out on the outside, Shvetsov is looking very calm as well. Sandwiched in between them. And 2 lanes inside Shvetsov is the Algerian Thalaija. And it is a quite easy race. Stedman's even having a little look around because he knows he's going to go through the top 3. Shvetsov putting in a bit of work on the outside to try and get himself up there near the man who's running in lane 6 in Thalaija of Algeria, but he takes it at a time of 54.28 seconds for him. And that will be a new lifetime best and season best for the Algerian. But a pretty cruisy race. Going through and breaking his lifetime best. That man there, Stedman, he had a look around. He knew in the last 100 metres he was going to go through as one of those top 3. Did it easy. Thalaija goes through first. Shvetsov there, racing as the neutral para-athlete, goes through in second place. And William Stedman, who took silver last year, has qualified through to the final in what was, I suppose we could classify, Steph, a pretty easy run for him.
Well, Stedman did get off to a really good start, and then it just seemed like he decided to go very conservative for the rest of it. You could see him looking around, a very mature performance. But I can't help but wonder, as a 400-meter runner, you must have got on that start line and been a little bit tempted just to go for it because conditions are so perfect. It is hot. It is very, very still in terms of wind on that track. And as a 400-meter runner, they're not given wind times because you're running in a circle, but wind does matter when it comes to fast times.
African record for Thalaija as well, 54.26. Shvetsov second, Stedman third. I guess when you're also talking about this category, this is the medium coordination impairment. You don't want to tighten up too much ahead of the final if you're putting too much in to this heat.
Yeah, well, the final will take place tomorrow morning, and 400 meters is one of those events where if you run it hard, as they will have to in the final, that lactic acid really, really hurts in the home straight. And one of the things you have to do if you're going through rounds is make sure you recover, make sure you flush all those chemicals out of your muscles.
So there's confirmation of those 3 who have gone through. Now, Rosny and Petria at the moment sit in those 2 fastest loser situations. 56.80, the lifetime best for Rosny of Malaysia. So he might be on the cusp of going through. We'll find out in just a moment or two's time.
Yeah, we return to the women's javelin F13 with Zhao very much in the lead, the champion from last year in Paris. But what a brilliant throw by Natalia Eder to get herself into competition, as we're watching Fatma Ismail now. She's down in 10th spot, 25 metres she threw in the opening round. She's a 32 thrower in her day, but that is not 30, about 26. 26.69. Karajanova has moved up into the bronze medal position for Kazakhstan, 33.50. So Eder, who is a 40-metre thrower, though not this season. That's a good belt. That is a very good belt. It's heading out to around 38 for the Austrian. Saying in the previous round, she's 43 now. She's been around for a really decent amount of time. Very strong when it comes to the European Championships. Much medalled at this stage, and that will help in terms of defending second spot. Zhao Yuping did not improve, by the way, the leader, with her second attempt. But Eder has best of the year to date, 37.87, and she's in the silver medal position. As we go on in this men's 400 meters T36, it is the second heat. It's a semi-final, really, because the top 3 are into the decider. And here is the reigning world and Paralympic champion James Turner, the 4-time Para-Athlete of the Year, who only got into athletics, you remember, because he was an international with the para-soccer team and it got cut, so he had to do something. Went into athletics and turned out to be really good. Also in this, Takeru Matsumoto, who won Universal Relay Gold in that amazing final in Paris last year with Japan, and the former European champion Krzysztof Discus of Poland. 5 going in this, including somebody who made their debut late last year in Santiago in the Pan Am Games, and Adonis Rosa. But really, it's all about James Turner here. And honestly, Steph, this should be a simple Sunday, even Saturday morning trot. Sunday morning's a different story.
Turner is by far and away the class of this field. That is true. But you still have to make it through the rounds. And I think we've watched enough athletics to know that sometimes we think something's going to be straightforward and then it turns out to be a little more dramatic than we hoped.
Well, Adonis Rosa made his debut in Santiago. He finished 4th in the 400 meters final there and 5th in the 100. So what can he do in the global stage? We know what this man has done. He's finished 4th in the last 2 World Championships. So what about here for Krzysztof Stuksha, the former European champion, who was gold in the Universal Relay because Canada were disqualified for Japan in Paris. Matsumoto's in 6. James Turner, 7-time world champion, is in lane 5, and Lucas Protonotarius of Greece is in lane 4. 7th in the last European Championships. He was 3rd in the 400 meters. Unfortunately for him, there was only 3 in the final. Finished 3rd in that, and that generally means no medal. Life's cruel like that. So T36, it is the second most impaired, if you like, of the standing coordination impairment categories. Protonotarius in 4, Turner in 5, Matsumoto 6, Chuksa 7, Rosa in 8, and it's the top 3 to go through. On the way at the first time of asking. Turner looking good and solid for Australia. You'd expect nothing less. Matsumoto has got off to a really good start as well in lane 6. Chuksa tends to come late, and he's going to have to do this here. The pole been overtaken by both Turner and Matsumoto very, very impressively. Protonotarius is well back at this stage. Turner looking superb. 5 years ago, that excellent world record in taking gold in Dubai when he did the 100 and the 400 double, and then successfully defended it in Paris last year. It's between these two, James Turner and Takeru Matsumoto. They're having their own private race. Chuksa's in 3rd. Matsumoto now out in front. Turner doesn't really need to put the speed on here. He's going through. It's going to be a Japanese win at home soil, 55-53. Turner in 2nd, and Chuksa just taking 3rd. That was a nice win for the home crowd to infuse the really very good crowd of a few thousand again here, and well done to Takeru Matsumoto. Well, he might have prospects in the final, certainly being cheered on by a home crowd. It's a decent home crowd here. Turner in 2nd, no problem for him, and Chuksa in 3rd. That was a race to really, really enthuse about.
It was interesting to see the different approaches by Turner and Matsumoto, and I'm not entirely convinced we've seen just what Turner can do. And for Matsumoto to compete in front of a home crowd, you can't help but want to go for your personal best. Now you'll see at the start there, the athletes have the options to use blocks or not. For some athletes, I don't find them particularly helpful, but with both Matsumoto and Turner, you can just see they both have this really lovely fluid stride. And while that was just off Matsumoto's PB, he doesn't actually look that tired at all. And so while I don't think we have seen the full range of what Steadman or Turner can do, I'm really excited about a fantastic final coming up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Japan really benefited from that astonishing disqualification for Canada in the final of the Universal Relay, and you may remember absolute carnage in the semi-finals too, where so many were DQ'd. Now we do have really nice crowds here. This is kind of close to where we are, actually. They're over there somewhere. Oh, I see them now with their banner. They're just kind of level with us beyond the finish line. It was really encouraging to see excellent crowds yesterday, and the schools, some do actually open on a Saturday in Japan. Not all of them, but welcome aboard. I was blown away by the crowds yesterday morning. It was not quite 10,000, but it was close enough to it, and to have a crowd like that for a morning session, I don't think we've seen anything like that since the London Paralympic Games. Really, really excellent. Just wish there was some snooker or some golf to commentate on at the moment. I think I kind of feel that frame of mind at the moment. We'll try to get the vocal cords replaced by the evening if possible.
We'll get you a bit of honey.
It'll take more than that. Here's Zhao. Oh, she's gone well beyond 40. That is brilliant by Zhao Yuping. She leads in this javelin final by a considerable amount. And she might just have taken the title with a first round throw. Natalia Eder has hit a season's best, and she is still 7 meters behind. But Zhao, the reigning champion, and she is reigning here. Oh, look at that. 44-34. That in its own right would be good enough to lead, and look at that set of marks as well, only about a meter between them all. She leads by 7. Karajanova of Kazakhstan in third, 33.50. Quite a lot of season's best, lifetime best, and for Ben Alu, as we see, African record, 2 of them so far. That's shy of 30, but might just be an improvement for Fatma Ismail of Bulgaria. She needs exactly 3 meters to climb up into 9th place. She needs an extra 4 to go into 8th, and that is her last throw of the competition. She will not progress to the second round. Now, Natalia Eder of Austria. She finished 4th in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo and only missed out by about a meter. She is that quality. That is brilliant. Consistent throwing all day. She's within 4 meters of her lifetime best. Regularly see her in the podium picking up the European gongs, and all of them being gold. And again, each of her throws has been good enough for a top 2 position. And this won't be any different. That might be an improvement on the 37.87 in the previous round. Or maybe not. 37.38.
Just a note on classification, this is listed as a women's javelin throw for F13, but there is quite a mix of classifications. So we have several F12s, and even though it's listed as an F13, there are instances where other classes are eligible to compete, and sometimes it's only an F13 event. And that's just because you have to consider the practicalities as well. We can't have a final with only 3 or 4 athletes. That's not viable. So in the past, what they did was they had athletes compete on a RASA system, which meant that they would then take each of the classes and convert the distance to points. Now, it was extremely confusing. So now, even though we do have a mix of classes, we just look at the distance in order to determine placing.
That would strike me as well. In something like the javelin, you're not talking about, I mean, this is the visual impairment, so there's no impact on physical strength, really, is there?
There's no impact on physical strength, but actually for an event like the javelin, there's a lot of balance and proprioception that's involved, and sometimes we forget just how much we use our eyes in order to know what our limbs are doing. So it does have an impact.
Edda is really mixing it strongly.
Hard to see that lady, though. You just saw there Zhao not picking up a fourth World Championship title. I'd say she could pick up any of those and put them well over that 40-metre mark. Loads more to come this morning. We've got a couple of 1,500-metre track finals up shortly. Zhao keeps herself nice and supple next to Edda. There's your top two. We have the first of those 1,500 metres about to take to the track. We talked about T13 a moment or two ago when we're talking about visual impairment for the javelin. We've got the 1,500 coming up on the track, but there is the results from the second heat of the men's 400 metres T36. Matsumoto taking it ahead of Turner. And there are our qualifiers. Rosny going through from the opening heat, and a lifetime best as well for Rosa Almonte in the second one in 57.89, so he takes the final qualification position for tomorrow's final. But it's time for the women and the 1,500 metres T13, which will be followed by a T11 women's 1,500 metre final. And in this one, Tigist Mengetsu, who in 2020 at the delayed Paralympic Games won Ethiopia's first Paralympic gold medal. She'll go in this. Now you do see there a guide for Francia Sorio. So they can opt to run with a guide at the T13 category, or you can go separately. Now there is one or two F12 in this one, or T12 I should say, because it's on the track. And Osorio is one of them, so that's medium visual impairment. So she's running with a guide. El Adrissi also a T12, medium visual, so she'll go by herself, though she's opted to go without a guide. Mengetsu, the 24-year-old, will go off as the favourite. There she is, reigning Paralympic champion. The reigning champion in the World Championships from last year will be Fatima El Adrissi of Morocco. So 3 of the T13s in this, and 3, or 2 I should say, of T12 category, all going as a T13 race though. There are a few events in these Para-Athletics World Championships where there is a limit on the medals to be awarded. One of those coming up a little bit later we'll have is the women's 5,000 metres T54. There are only 3 going in that one. There's only 1 medal to be awarded. So as we go through the remaining 8 and a bit days of this event, tournament, championships, we shall let you know as we go through as to which ones will have a limited medal count. Now there is Francia Sorio with her guide. They do have that tether, which is extremely important and has to remain with them the whole way through. And when you are running with a guide, you have to make sure you head across the line at the end before the guide. There are rules and regulations which have to be followed if you are running with a guide. Can be a bit more complex at times.
Women's
The start list is ready to go.
1,500 meter T13 final.
Tigist Mengetsu, lifetime best of 4:22.30. T13 championship record is held by Samaya Busad, who also goes in this.
Osorio Francie.
Francia Osorio won gold last year at the Parapan
From
American Games, silver back in 2019 in Dubai. Pisa Roma She was 5th last year in Paris from Uganda.
India.
Samaya Busa,
Bosai
who's the
Tobai.
T13 championship record holder from Doha back in 2015. She was bronze
from
last year
Morocco,
in Paris.
El Idrisi
And Fatima
Fatima
El
Ezzara.
Idrisi, reigning champion, also won gold in Dubai back in 2019. She'll go on the outside to start with.
Starts now.
So a race of tactics. The 1500 metres. And watch for the explosion of pace. In the last 400, the athletes have been told to stand up. Bit of noise in the background over there with the seated discus going on. So quite a correct call. Just made them stand up again and compose themselves. No issue with any of the athletes there, so hence the green card being given. So we'll get back into a position to go again.
On your mark.
5 to go. Soria running with the guide. So away they go. And just a bit of a jostle for position. Oh, I'll tell you what, Mengetsu almost went off the track then. She had to tiptoe down the inside and she almost found herself running on the green surface on the inside of the actual running track. So that could have been disaster straight away. Getting up there into second position, El Idrisi, who's the reigning champion. And it's a race all about tactics, this. The 1500 metres, you don't want to go out too quick because you are going to exhaust yourself and get that lactic acid build-up a lot earlier in the race than you want. But they have gone out at a pretty reasonable pace in this opening 250 metres. Leading down the inside there, it is Mengetsu. So Mengetsu leads and Pisa Roma's gone a couple wide on the outside there, Steph. It's probably not the most optimal position to be where she is at the moment.
It's not the most efficient way to run a 1500 meters, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want to get yourself into trouble. But these ladies certainly went off at pace. Mengetsu was very clear where she wanted to be at the start, and that was at the front. And I think we're in for a really exciting race. The 3 women in the front, they all have very similar personal bests, but it's Mengetsu who's the athlete who's in form. Her season's best is from this year. And in championship racing, we don't necessarily see a fast race in the final. However, obviously, as you said, it's about tactics and it's about who crosses the line first. Some athletes will play it a little bit slow and then they'll then put in a bit of a kick to tire the other ones out. But clearly, Mengetsu has looked at the race and thought her best bet to win this is just to tire the leg of the athletes behind her.
Well, El Idrisi is looking really good there in third position. She's just tailing up on the inside of Pisa Roma. And she kicked back a bit there and just slowed down a bit. But I think she's realised that you don't want to let Mengetsu get too far away because she gets 10 to 15 metres into the distance and it's pretty much race over as they head around. Yeah, she's gone around the outside of Pisa Roma. And El Idrisi, by the way, has got a very good kick at the end. She's very fast. She did it last year in Paris and she came home and she won that race. In that last 400 metres, she was very strong. But talking of strong at the moment, Tigges Mengetsu, the 24-year-old from Ethiopia, is opened up a lead of around 10 metres at the moment. She's got 600 metres left in this women's 1500 metres T13 final. She's looking very, very strong indeed. And her pace, right from the outset where she's led, has looked really strong. And she doesn't look like she's faltering at the moment in any way whatsoever.
And we did see in the women's T11 1500 meter yesterday, several of those women came back and competed in the 400, just showing that while this is a middle distance race, speed matters. And perhaps El Idrisi was hoping that her finishing kick would be enough to put her in the gold medal position. But Mengetsu has certainly stretched the pace, and at this time, I'm not sure El Idrisi is going to catch her.
Well, Samaya Busa holds that championship record set back in Doha in 2015. Is in 4th position, so she's in a chance of getting that bronze medal. But at the moment, it's Mengetsu who's out in front by 20 metres or so from Fatima El Idrissi. She's got around 250 metres left to run. I wonder whether that record might be under a bit of threat from Manixu, because she's put the afterburners on down that back straight. She comes up to around 200 metres to go. She's opened up a gap over El Idrissi of around 20 metres at the moment. So she's come around that bend looking really strong, as she has for that whole race in pretty warm conditions, it has to be said. She hasn't faltered once. She's looked really strong. She's looked upright. She's got a great stride about her, and she's going to power down this straight. And surely the championship record is going to go here. It's 4:33.51, which is held by Samaya Busat. It's been there for 9 years, and Manixu is going to absolutely obliterate that record. She's come in a brilliant time of 4:18.91. So that is a new championship record. El Idrissi has come in second position. She couldn't get there. She couldn't get close enough. But Samaya Busad has taken over Pisa Roma on that final lap, and she has taken the bronze medal position. But a wonderful run up front from the lady who's taken the victory. She's the Paralympic champion. She's now the world champion as well. Tigist Manixu of Ethiopia. Wonderful run right from the front, 4:18.90, new championship record. Absolutely smashed the mark that has stood for 9 years from Busad, who came in the bronze medal. She's taken, what, a good 15 seconds off that mark. El Idrissi as well. If you're wondering why it's a championship record for her, it's because she's a T12 athlete. So the championship record she's broken is one set in Berlin, and it was back in 1994 by Rima Batalova. It was 4:37.02. She has obliterated that mark as well by 13 seconds or so.
Manixu came in with a very clear race plan. You saw how she fought to get to the start of that race, and she committed. She committed right from the start. She knew she was going to run a hard race, and I think El Idrissi spotted the danger, and whether it was too late, whether she just realized she couldn't keep pace with Manixu, she just went out. And sometimes I like seeing that. I like seeing an athlete force a race to suit their style, their strategy, and she was well rewarded.
Well, let's be honest, she could look like she could run another 1,500 metres at the end of that race, because she didn't look like she was burning up as far as lactic goes too much. She looked in a very strong position, but she smashed the championship record. Brilliant run, 9-year-old record gone, but a word as well for El Idrissi, who's the champion outgoing, who's broken that championship record set by Batalova back in 1994. So the T12 championship record is gone, as well as the T13 championship record in the same race, having a mixture of both athletes. But a wonderfully supreme victory for Manixu of Ethiopia, adding to that Paralympic title, and she is going to be one to look out for to retain that title in Paris later this year. Well, the crowd in here have certainly been treated already to some quite wonderful running. That's the women's 1,500 metres T13 final. We're now moving across to the T11 women's 1,500 metres with Will Downing.
And there's 5 going in this, and 2 of them are championship debutants. So the other 3 may feel they have a big chance. 2 are very much
1,500
what you would call
T11 final.
wild cards. They could do anything. T11, complete visual impairment. So guides all the way. Championship debut for Yaya Cheshfao, along with a guide, Kindu Girma of Ethiopia. For South Africa, silver in the 1,500 metres in Paris last year. Her 6th world championship for Luzanne Kutze. And a guide, Erasmus Bananorst. The 2018 Asian Games champion for India, Rakshita Raju, and a guide, Tabraz Khan. Silver in the 1,500 metres in Dubai in 2019. For China, Hei Shanchan, and a guide, Yu Yunji. And a championship debut for Peru in the outside for Neri Mamani and a guide, Aldo Kuzi. If you were with us for the semi-finals yesterday, you'll have seen Joanna Mazur win the semi-final, and you think, hang on a sec, where is she? Well, disqualified. You might just remember, with a couple of laps to go, she went on the infield, was disqualified for it. So Tesfo, Kutsi, Raju, Hay, and Mamani, the 5 in this women's 1500 meters T11. Tesfo and Mamani, championship debutants, and Raju getting the pass to the final because of Mazur's disqualification. Final of the women's 1500 meters T11. So it's Tesfo, Kurtse, Raju, Hay, and Mamani. It was a very good competitive semi-final. It's so bad luck for Joanna Mazur that she was disqualified. 2 laps to go, just as she was heading into the closing straight on the bend. Obviously, she didn't see the boundary and stood into it and took a couple of steps. One step, you may well be okay. These days, it used to be a mandatory disqualification, but now they'll consider whether you take 2 or 3 steps, and that's what she did. And unfortunately, she is out. And that's athletics. Yayesh Tesfo, 4:38 runner. That's her lifetime best from this year. She is the fastest of the field. And she's taken them around very well straight away. Tesfo in control with 3 laps to go. And in front, Kurtse tucked in nicely in 3rd place. She'd waited a long time in her career to finally get global medals, and she's done it at the last Paralympics, the last World Championships, silver in the 1500 meters in both. And Hei Shanshan well placed as well with that silver in the 15 in the 2019 World Championships from Nanjing, Jiangxi province. Her guide, Yu Junyi, the only guide we didn't mention, by the way, just for time purposes, Erasmus Badenhorst. Kurtse also won bronze in the marathon in Tokyo. So she can definitely get the stamina up when she needs to. But Tesfo looking good at the moment, and Hay in 2nd place. And then a gap between the top 2 and the rest, Stephanie.
Tesfa has gone right to the front, just like her compatriot Minjitsu in the race beforehand. And once again, placement really matters, particularly when you're running with the guide, because it's one thing for one body to spot an opening, get in there, but for 2 bodies to make a decisive move, it just takes that much more space and time. And you mentioned Mazur, unfortunately being disqualified. Unfortunately, we also don't have Chep Kamai of Kenya, who finished just behind Tesfa. She did not show up for her 400-meter heat yesterday, and because of that, she is automatically removed from the rest of the races at the championship.
Yeah, that's the rule that also got Madison de Rosario at last year's World Championships, who is not here. Now, I'll tell you what, the T54s always give us great racing. Quite a lot of them are not here. The longer distance racers anyway, but quite a lot of the T11s are. Nancy Koech, by the way, of Kenya, the champion in Paris last year. This is looking like potentially a very tight finish between these 2. Tesfo, interestingly, going on the outside of a guide, and Hei Shan-san on the inside. We'll see if that causes a problem or 2 if there's a sprint in the closing straight. But they're coming up with 500 meters to go, and really the battle for gold is between these 2. It's Tesfo leading the way, Hay in 2nd place, and way back for now to bronze for Kurtse, who herself is a lead of around 30 meters ahead of the rest. The bell is coming, and the gold will be decided here.
Tesfa is definitely in the better position at this moment, because we get a great view here to see just how wide Hay and her guide would have to run in order to get around both bodies. It's an interesting choice to have your guide on the inside, because for Tesfa, she technically is running farther than her guide. However, what we saw with Joanna Mazur, she stepped on the inside, so perhaps it actually gives her guide the ability to keep her in a straight line even better.
So it's Tesfa leading the way. It's only about 5 meters ahead of Hay. That obviously foreshortens it. But Hei Shan-san, the silver medalist 5 years ago, she didn't compete in the World Championships last year, neither did Tesfo. But on the Grand Prix circuit, she has looked quite impressive. And now, in a World Championship debut, she holds the lead. Coming into the closing straight, Hei Shan-san will have something in reserve potentially. Or maybe it's Tesfo who has it all in reserve. Look at this sprint. And the Ethiopian is going to get the goal. Yayash Tesfo wins it. 4:31.79. And that, by a long way, is an astonishing world record. Hay gets the silver. Kurzer will get the bronze. But 4:31.77 is the most astonishing race we've ever seen in this. Hay, also inside the world record, smashes the Asian record. Kurzer gets the bronze medal. And then it's about the minor positions from Amani in 4th and Raju in 5th. But that is the 4th world record on the track that we have seen this week. Yayash Tesfo, magnificent. Well done to Raju as well. There will be lifetime bests being sought for the rest. Raju is only 23 and she's clinging on a little bit there, I'm afraid to say. A little bit of emotion and exertion, but 4 out of the 5 have had lifetime bests, and it's the ultimate lifetime best for Yayash Tesfo as she gets a new world record by 6 seconds, breaking the mark from Tokyo by Rodriguez. What a win for Yayash Tesfo, and well done to Hay and Kurzer as well, 2nd and 3rd.
Tesfa absolutely obliterated that world record, and I think it was deceptively fast because both Tesfa and Hay looked so smooth. And what was amazing to see between Tesfa and her guide, they were perfectly in sync in terms of their stride the whole time, from when they were running at a quick middle distance place to here where they've now suddenly switched and gone into sprint mode.
Absolutely fantastic from Yayash Tesfo of Ethiopia. Well, there has certainly been a bit more democracy, if you like, in terms of the titles in para-athletics, 1,500 meters compared to world athletics, if you like, what we used to call the IAAF circuit. But Kenya have been succeeded by Ethiopia in terms of the world crown here, and the world record has gone to Yayash Tesfo.
Talking of world records and world champions, Zhao Yuping. As we head back to the javelin throw, F13. Well, she's given that one some, hasn't she? It's well out over the 40-meter mark. .44.86. That her first attempt. A brilliant effort. The only of the athletes that's thrown over the 40-meter mark. And she holds the championship record for the F12 as well as the world record as well. And we know why. This is the neutral para-athlete, Deborah Vozgaya. She's going to be going some, though, to catch up with Yao at the top.
So Ala Kulinik Sorenkina, who used to be a very notable sprinter in the day in the 100 and the 200, is coming to the javelin as well. We're used to seeing her a lot higher in terms of competition, but down in 7th today. Remember, she and her compatriots have been out of competition for the past 3 years or so. Obviously, they'll have been competing domestically, but it's just not quite the same. Back to Benalu, not improving on her first 2 efforts either. 27.88, she stays in 6th, but she does have that African record. That at F13, by the way. It's the F13 final, but most in this are F12s. And Eder currently in the silver medal position. And actually, we've got a kind of like a low flying plane or something like that. Because there's vision impairment. I don't know if that was slightly off-putting or maybe just a coincidence for Serap Demakapu. Needs 3 extra meters to get into the medals. Demakapu's not going to be able to make that. A lifetime best earlier has her in 5th place. Turned 24 a few months ago. Her prime is still very much on the way. Eder, the former European champion in 2018. Bronze in the Worlds last year, twice Paralympic bronze medalist in London and in Rio. But really the big battle is going to be the next 2 throws. Karajanova of Kazakhstan, Dabra Volskaya is the neutral athlete. Karajanova in 4th, needs an extra meter 25 in order to get onto the podium, and that will not be it. Dabra Volskaya will get the bronze, the neutral athlete at the very least. Margins are quite big between the top 4. 33.50 in the second round, 32.23 in the third, and nothing beyond 30 after that. So it's 4th for her. Paralympic champion is Uzbekistan's Nozimakon Kaimova. She is not competing in this. Eder certainly is. Dabra Volskaya. We're not seeing throwing in the final round, by the way. She has the bronze. She's elected to skip. This is Natalia Eder, who has the silver, and she finishes on a high. That might just be her longest yet. She was a long jumper originally, you know, over a dozen years ago, and quickly switched to the javelin, and she is brilliant in the javelin. She gets the silver for Austria. It's her 4th World Championship medal. It's the first time since Lyon in 2013 that she's got the silver. It's her first global silver since then at the Stade de Rhône 11 years ago. Actually, we'd really good crowds of that as well. And it's a huge stadium. It was about 35,000 capacity, I think you were saying earlier, and we've got probably about 6,000 or 7,000 in this morning, which, well, that's a foul, doesn't matter. Zhao has the gold, and China have the gold. Zhao Yuping is now a 4-time world champion. She did it in London, and in Dubai, and in Paris, and now in Kobe. Zhao Yuping, 4 in a row. Natalia Eder, who won bronze last year in Paris. A great display to get the silver. And Dabra Volskaya, after a few years out of international competition, gets the bronze. And she, by the way, only turned 22 a few weeks ago. That's a great result for her. But Zhao Yuping, a little bit, I guess, Steph, like Holly Arnold, just keeps coming back and right now just cannot be beaten.
That is quite a margin to win a javelin competition in. But the thing is, and we've seen it all the time with parasport, new athletes are constantly coming in, whether it's athletes who weren't aware that they could be classified, or if we have athletes switching events like we did with Eder, and that's what keeps this sport so exciting.
I can't tell you, the 400 metres Tier 11 heats are currently taking place.
Well, this was Zhao's winning throw. It was actually her first effort, and nobody could surpass that, actually, in the end, not even herself. She's the world record holder, set in Dubai at the Worlds 5 years ago. 46 metres dead. And Zhao Yuping claims the glory, 44.86. And it's only a metre and bits off her world record anyway. It's a 4th world title in a row. You cannot be class. That is absolutely for certain. What a really, really good display. The consistency stays. We didn't have the Paralympic champion, but who knows? Obviously, There are a few who are not here, and some obviously for injury reasons as well.
Women's 1500 metres T13 confirmation. Minixu, a championship record in the T13 category. Eldrissi in the T12, also a championship record, takes the silver. And Samaya Busad picks up the bronze, the former world champion now.
And a new world record in the T11 women's 1500 metres for Yayesh Tesfal of Ethiopia, 4:31.77. Asian record for He Shansan, silver for China. And Luzan Kurtze, another major championship medal for the South African there. PBs for Mamani of Peru and Rakshita Raju of India as well. 4 of the 5 with lifetime best, and the first 2 obviously very significant. Both continental records as well. Top of the world record. So we move to the men's 400 metres T11. Now we're looking here at the entrance for the 3rd heat. I'm just wondering if we haven't had a very, very late redraw. I don't think we have.
I can tell you in the first heat, there were 3 that took part. Salcom of Thailand was a non-starter. So the 3 who went in the opening heat. Caseta Novas qualified through in 53.37. Shikongo also going through, and Kozcek as well.
Yeah, this is the field for Heat 2. Felipe de Souza, the perennial champion, the reigning world champion, with 2 championship debutants alongside in the form of Stefan Bakale and Bonkamila Banketse of Botswana.
There is confirmation of the race that has already been 53.37. So Caseta Novas has gone through. It's only the first that goes through, and it will be the next fastest across the 3 heats, which also qualifies for the final.
So the 2015 world champion over 200 metres, Pan Am champion. He's been the Paralympic 4x1 gold medalist in 2016. Felipe de Souza Gomez in this as well. If you're the family of Eduardo Usaid and you stayed up late in Spain for that, well, sorry about that. We'll try and get the pictures back for you, but it was happening at the same time, the culmination of the women's javelin. We'll put a word in for them to try and replay that race, if possible. But we'll concentrate on the second one for now. And Felipe de Souza. Really good athlete. Now, there are just 3 in this. It is T11, so it's complete visual impairment. The athletes are completely blind. And so they all mandatorily have guides. As we saw, by the way, in that women's T13 final, which was a really good spectacle in its own right. There were a couple of T12s in it. They were allowed the guides, the T13s not. And Felipe de Souza is an athlete of really prime quality, and is up against 2 championship debutants today, Steph. It would be very difficult to see him getting into any kind of trouble this morning whatsoever.
Brazil has so much depth when it comes to the visually impaired sprints. I mean, they just have this system worked out where they are able to produce incredibly fast athletes and incredibly fast guides. The world record in this event is from Da Silva, also Brazilian, at 49.82, and that goes back all the way to 2011, and it's not often you'll see records in parasport that have stood for that long.
No doubt about it. Mauritius well represented as always. They are a really class-growing para-athletics nation.
Round 1, Heat 2.
Picking up their first ever medals in Paris both in women's
Lane
and men's
7 from
athletics
Botswana.
as well. So in lane 7 for Botswana,
Bokamil. The guy,
Bokamil
Valentin
and Keita,
Suo.
who actually was in the heats in the World Championships last year, but went out early
Cameroon.
alongside his guy
Dekane
Tuso
Bondo
Balaseng in
Stefan.
lane 5.
And the guy
For Cameroon,
Ngolo
Championship David Horn,
Kante.
Stefan Bakale, along with his guide Sami Carlos Englo.
Representing Brazil.
And in lane 3,
The
a
Tumba
CV
Gomez
as long as your arm.
And the guy,
The London 2012 200 metres
champion.
champion. Pan Am champ over 400 in Toronto in 2015. World champion over 200 in Doha in 2015. It is Felipe de Souza Gomez and his guide Jonas
On your marks.
de Lima Silva. Championship record in this set in the Stade de Rhône in Lyon 11 years ago. Dani Mendes de Silva. Really good championships that. It was fabulous weather all week and really, really good crowds. Actually, the crowd's so good that they had to take shelter in the treed part of the stadium. With about 6,000 or 7,000 per session, which was really, really good. So just the winner and the next fastest overall to go through. Mr. Souza in 3, Bakale in 5, Bankete in 7. Bakale's got away really well. He very much the newbie in the field, and he very much has to go for it. Otherwise, what chance might he have? Felipe de Souza putting the foot down very well alongside Jonas de Lima on the inside for Brazil. It's caught up with Bakale. And as they hit the wide turn past halfway, Felipe de Souza is showing his real quality. Bankete in second. Bakale just beginning to overtake him now. The big battle is for second. And as to how fast it's going to be. Felipe de Souza's got the victory here. There's no doubt about that. Bakale is pushed up well. De Souza's going to take it. De Souza wins. Bakale in second, 53.21. The winning time. Bakale might just have smashed his lifetime best, by the way. But De Souza untroubled. He gets the win. Bakale in second. And Bakete third. And that did very much go according to form. Bakale does have a lifetime best under 54 for the first time in his career.
See De Souza Gomez and his guide get out pretty quickly, and then the rest of the race from them just looks smooth. 53.22 is quite conservative, and this is just such a beautiful shot of the way that both De Souza and his guide work together. I've said Brazil really has managed to work out what it takes to develop excellent athletes and excellent guides. You can see his guide there just chatting with him, looking around for him, making sure nobody's coming out behind him, because only the first athlete goes through, and it is such a difficult job for the guides. And typically they have to be able to run faster than the athletes because they're having to match their stride to their athlete and be able to talk and look around during the race. So it's really, really tough to come across guides who can compete at this level.
Well, Stephen Bakale with that lifetime best in second spot has overtaken Anani Shikongo, and he's a man who we've seen in a lot of finals. And Shikongo from Namibia is out. And Bakale for now is the next fastest. The fastest loser, or as sometimes is termed, no, by European athletics anyway, in the hot seat, which I think is what they're calling it here, and probably for a very, very good reason. Bakatse in the end was in third spot, but no denying Felipe de Souza. He won by 0.7, and I'm not even sure Steffi was going at 70% tilt, but he's through to the final. He's done his Saturday morning work, and there is not much more that could have been asked of him. Aceda's winning time, by the way, in the first heat was 53.37. De Souza taking victory in the second heat by 53.22. They are semi-finals. I know they're officially heats. They have to be officially termed as heats, but the semi-finals, you win, you're in the decider. And we've got a maximum of 4 coming up in this third and final heat.
Yeah, this is Field with a couple of PBs set this year as well. So those lifetime bests, as they have to realise there's only one that will go through. 4 in this one, only 3 in that last. So we got the bronze medalist from the Asian Para Games who's going in this one as well. Kim Lopez Gonzalez, the world record of 17:04 in that men's shot put F12 final. It's about to take place. Roman Daniel with the championship record of 16.69. We'll bring you updates throughout the course of that one as it gets underway at the medium visual impairment.
And in 10 minutes' time, women's long jump, T37 as well. The second strongest coordination impairment category. So still a lot happening in terms of field events, and still a lot of finals coming on this Saturday morning.
And in case you thought we'd forgotten about it, we haven't. The women's discus throw F57 seeded final. It's still ongoing. Will be for a little while yet. There is the man who holds the world record, Kim Lopez Gonzalez of Spain. Just all getting themselves prepared. Put a chair. Finished 9th last year, Vladimir Budicev of Moldova. Seven going in that one. 4 going in this one. Back on the track. Final heat. Heat 3 of the men's 400 metres T11. Chris Kinder of Namibia. He's 51.15, the best of the lifetime bests for the athletes running in this field. If we took it on lifetime bests, he'd be 2 seconds faster than Hussein Mohammed of Bahrain. There is our field. Fred Masisa, Hussein Mohammed, Chris Kenda, and Nguyen of Vietnam rounds up the field. This being the T11 is complete visual impairment, so all the athletes run with a guide. Nguyen of Vietnam, bronze medalist at the Asian Para Games last year.
Representing Namibia on day 5, Kinda Chris. And the guy,
Chris Kenda, with that lifetime best set this year, 51.15. 25 years of age.
Representing Bahrain, Mohammed
Hussein Mohammed.
And the guy,
53.48, his lifetime best. He'll be going from lane 3. And Fred Masisa
representing Uganda
of Uganda.
And the guy,
26 years of age.
Men's 400 meter T11 round 1.
So just the one that will go through. Then we'll find our fastest qualifier. So it will take a little bit of time for the athletes to get themselves into a position to be ready to go. The guide does all the work there. Has to set the athlete before getting themselves sorted, making sure those thumbs and fingers are right behind the line. .53.92, the best of the rest so far, if we're looking at qualifying times for the lucky loser. And they get away. And getting away fastest of all out there in lane 5 is Chris Kinder, who's gone up on the shoulder already of Nguyen, but looking very strong as well. Hussein Mohammed of Bahrain, who is roaring down there in lane 3 with his guide, and with around 200 metres to go. This is going to be where you might start to feel the burn a little bit. So he's put in all the work, Hussein Mohammed, with 150 metres to go, and Chris Kenda is just sticking on his outside shoulder. And he's running that bend really well, is Kenda, the Namibian. And he's trying to come down the outside. He's tightening up. Here's the man on the inside, Hussein Mohammed, as we thought he might with that very fast couple of 100 metres. And he's really struggling towards the end. The man who isn't struggling, though, is Kenda. And he's got across and taken the victory in a time of 51.80. So a second and a half outside the championship record. He's a happy man, though, going through. But Hussein Mohammed, he really tightened up towards the end of that one. 51.79 it's been rounded down to. But he got away to a very good start. But the man in the inside, Hussein Mohammed of Bahrain, he really put the afterburners on. But around 200 metres to go, though, he really struggled from there in the last 100.
Yeah, but I respect what Hussein Mohammed did there, because you have to go for it. This is one of the hardest finals to make because only 4 athletes get through. Granted, if you get through, your chances of the medal are quite good. But Mohammed went out and he laid it out there, and you can see what happens at the end when that lactic really catches up with you. You feel like you're running through treacle and the ground is moving away from you. But it was also a great race from Kenda, who didn't panic when he felt Mohammed come up. He didn't react. He stuck with his game plan, and he knew that coming down that home straight, that was when he was going to get that sort of separation, and a great time from him.
Well, Mohammed at 53.09, I think he's going to go through. That's a lifetime best. So he's going to take that lucky loser position in the fastest qualifier and go through to the final. So he'll have to make sure he gets a good massage and gets all that lactic out of his body before he goes into that final. He might have a different approach than that. He might have the same approach. Just towards the end, he struggled somewhat, but it was a quite wonderful run. And also from the man, Chris Kenda, who took it. Very good crowds in. We've mentioned it already, but it's wonderful to see as we look around this quaint stadium built back in 1985. That's making me hungry. Might have to nip out in a minute and get something now.
They came prepared. Very wise.
Unlike us.
Yeah, why change the habit of a lifetime, eh?
We have back to the shot put.
Yep, F12, medium visual impairment. This is opening exchanges of same. And Gilna with his third attempt, currently lying 5th, 13.75. He's knocking on the door of the medals. He's only 3/4 of a meter off it. Right now it's Kim Lopez who leads for Spain, 15.22. Simon Pakbaz around in second, 14.56. Sultanov third. Not anymore. Gilna, 14.72. Lifetime best, goes into the silver medal position. And it's only Kim Lopez ahead of him. What a throw. Well, he did not stand on any ceremony. Gilna coming into this competition with a lifetime best of 14.30. That in itself would not have been enough for a medal, but he's added 42 centimeters onto it, and he goes into the silver medal position for Latvia. Pakbaz down to third, and Sultanov of Uzbekistan down to fourth. He's having big problems right now. Sultanov is opening round 14.49, put him into the lead. He has not had a successful attempt since. Long jump, T37 for women. Wen Yaozhan, world record holder in taking gold at the Asian Games at Hangzhou in October. She is in this.
3 golds in Tokyo for Wen as well. Long jump, 100 and 200. Quite a collection. She'll certainly go as the favourite in this, having won the World Championships in Paris last year.
Women's long jump T37 final. representing neutral para-athlete, Tretiakova Elena.
Tretiakova, who's running as a
Representing
neutral athlete. Liesl Hals, she's been busy,
Goals, Liesl.
along with the South Africans at these championships.
Representing Belgium, Van
17-year-old
Selma.
Selma Van Kerm, who was 6th last year in Paris.
Representing Mauritius, Angeline Anand.
Anaïs Angeline, who was 4th, just outside the medals last year, 4:52, her lifetime best set this year.
Wen Zhaoya.
And Wen, who knows all about winning golds, Paralympic and
Representing France,
world champion,
Jeunesse Manon.
Manon Jeunesse. 4:76, her lifetime best, a season best, 4:53.
37 final. Start now.
But Wen set a new world record in Paris last year, and then also in Hangzhou. So quite the champion, and the only one of the athletes in this field to have cleared the 5-meter mark, 5:45. That world record she set in Hangzhou back in October of last year. Championship record set in Dubai back in 2019, 5 years ago. But Elena Tretiakova is going to be first of the 6 athletes to go. There's a slight breeze just behind her there by the looks of things as well. You can see with that windsock. Well, nothing the matter with the jump. It lost a little bit of ground, actually, and I don't think she even managed to hit the board. I think she fell short of the board before she actually jumped then, so she won't get that bounce off the board that we talk about, Steph Reed.
You can see at the start, and just lining the long jump runway right now, all of those markers with alphabet letters on them, that is what the athletes are using to help set their runway. And runway's so important because, one, you don't want to foul, but two, as you said, you really do want to get on the board because the board is made of wood, the track is a different surface, and for me, I always found that when you take off from the board, you get this really satisfying pop. And it's just a stiffer material. It means that you can transfer more of that power you built up on the runway into the jump. So a few reasons why you do want to be on the board.
Well, 4:07 for Tretiakova with her opener. So she's a good 33 centimetres off her lifetime best. Liesl Hals, her lifetime best set this year, 4:32. So only the 6 going in this women's long jump T37. Not too much messing about. Straight into the action. With Hals with her first jump of this competition. Well, that was much better on the board. She's got the white flag. I think she might have done really well there in getting as close as possible on that takeoff board.
My goodness, it has been a busy 24 hours for Gauss and also for Van Kerm, who both competed in the 400-meter final last night. And just to give you a sense, so the event finished at 7:30. If you got selected for doping, that could be another hour or two, depending on whether or not you had to pee at that moment. You're getting back after your cool down and eating probably around 11, probably not sleeping until midnight. And then you're going to have to get up at least 6 a.m. for this start. So it just gives you an idea of what the athletes are having to do on not always a lot of sleep.
Well, she'd be happy with that opening start. 4:24, 8 centimetres off her lifetime best, but her mark on the board was absolutely perfect as to where she got to. So the youngster from Belgium, Selma Van Kerm, yet to break the 4-metre mark in her career. Been a short one so far, though. So there's loads in front of this young lady. Great experience at such a tender age. Nice bit of breeze behind her there as well.
just 17 years old. She's at these champs. She'll be competing in the 200, the 400, and the long jump. And at that age, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to compete in as many things as possible, get the experience, and that way you figure out not only where your talents lay, but it actually provides a fantastic base. You're going to get that little bit of endurance from the 400 meters, that power from the 200, the sprint power, and then that real focus on technique and plyometrics. Now, as she carries on in her career, it's getting to the stage now where athletes are having to specialize to a degree, but at the start, it's great to have that sort of base to work from.
Yeah, she just leaned back a bit as she went to the pit there as well, instead of just to the side. This is the coordination impairment category, of course, so sometimes these things do happen, but what they're trying to do is sort of lean to the side as they hit the pit. She just sort of, in the air, was leaning slightly backwards then, so lost a few centimetres because of it.
In the women's T37, it's a coordination impairment that is on one side. So you might think of it that you have one side that perhaps is stronger than the other side. But in long jump, there really is no hiding, because even though everybody focuses on the takeoff foot, that's the one that you're thinking, well, I'll make sure my strongest side is on that. It's actually your second to last stride that sets up the jump.
Well, we'll leave the long jump for the time being, because we're going to head over to the track for the opening round of the women's 100 metres T38.
Yeah, good quality field in this as well. 4 of the 5 have won major championship medals, including the reigning world champion at T37, Karen Palameke. She's now been recategorized as a T38. Luca Eckler silver in the 100 in this last year. European, World Paralympic gold medals for her. Palameke, Pan Am champion. Here's who we have in the field in lane 3 for Guatemala. Erika Esteban, 5th in the 400 final of the Pan Ams. The reigning world champion over 200, 400 and the long jump, Luca Eckler. European 400 and long jump champion as well. In lane 5. Golds in the 1, the 2 and the 4 in T37 last year. Karen Palameke in lane 6, a championship debut for China's Chen Zhimo. And in lane 7 for Germany, the 400 meters champion for the Paralympic Games. World record in that in Tokyo. Bronze in the 1 in Tokyo for Lindy Av. It's a stunning field. She's been European 400 champion. Bronze in the Worlds in 2017. Esteban, Eckler, Palameke, Chen and Av. This is a great field. Top 3 will go through to the final. This has given us such great names down through the years. Esteban, Eckler, Palameke, Chen and Ave. The 5 in this women's 100 T38. And they're going to have to stand up. Chen Zhimo just wanted to resettle herself. It is coordination impairment, obviously. The strongest physically of the very many coordination impairment categories. It's green card, so nothing to worry about. Luca Eckler, nominated for the Laureus Para Sports Person of the Year award off the back of winning 3 golds last year in Paris in the T38, the 200, the 400, the long jump, retaining a title in the long jump from Dubai in 2019. Palameke with those 3 golds in the T37 and 5 golds subsequently in the Pan Ams. They're away this time. Eckler starting strong, and Chen Zhimo as well. And Palameke, between those two, it's the top 3 to go through. Eckler now moves out in front. Eckler, Palameke, and Chen just ahead of Abe. 13.11. Good win for Luca Eckler. And that was a very nice Saturday morning warrior. Chen just holding on for 3rd ahead of Lindy Ave, who's had a spectacular career in her own right. Palameke, 13.12, now recategorized to a T38.
We spoke about how the landscape of the men's 100-meter T38 has been changing, and it's the same for the women. And just a note on Palameke, she was a T37 last year, and it's not unusual in the coordination and balance impairment classes for athletes to be reassigned. It's quite normal for athletes to be given a class and then reviewed 2 or 3 years down the line. It can be quite complex in this class. For example, a leg amputee, that's quite obvious and probably isn't going to change. So it doesn't mean she was in the wrong class. It just means that she has now been reassigned. And it's difficult for Palameke because she's now coming into a new environment there. But what a race from her, showing she is still very competitive as a T38.
That photo finish was for a 3rd spot, and Chen is certainly in the final. Ave will have to wait. 13:39. Ave is now 25, but she's had a sensational career, and there have been so many who have come through, particularly in the T38s as the years have gone on. Isis Holt was in for a little bit. She found herself eclipsed a couple of times by that nation. Sophie Hahn bursting through in was it 2015, 2014. So this was the earlier result of the men's 400 meters T11, the second heat. Felipe de Sousa Gomez taking that 53.22. Bakale was in pole position as the fastest loser with the lifetime best, but does not progress, and this is why.
Because Chris Kinder has won that one, and Hussein Mohammed has gone through with a lifetime best of 53.09. So there we are, the qualifiers through. Kinder, Mohammed, De Sousa Gomez and Usaida Novas through to the final. Well, the second of the 100 metres T38 semi-finals, we can call them. Now, if you look at that down the bottom right there, minus 2.9 metres per second, so there's a headwind at the moment. There was exactly the same headwind in the last of the semi-finals as well. So there's 5 sets to go in this one. The least of the coordination impairment categories. The reigning champion will go in lane 4. Darian Jimenez, silver medalist back in Tokyo at the Paralympic Games, won the gold last year. Ali Smith goes in this too of Great Britain. She didn't start in the final last year, made it through. Takamatsu Yuka, nice round of applause for her, the Japanese athlete who'll be going in lane 3. Her lifetime best of 13.67. Now, if we're looking at it here, we'll be looking at Jimenez, Pardy and Smith as far as the top 3 to go through. So it's then all about the times. 13.39 and 16.15, the lucky loser ones in the hot seat from the last race. That lady there looking to make it back-to-back World Championships this year. Took the silver in the 200 metres in Paris last year as well. Couldn't quite do the double, but had a very successful championships nonetheless. Gimaresh is enjoying herself over there in lane 7. The American, 20 years of age.
Lane 3, representing Japan.
Takamatsu Yuka. Very strong.
Lane 4.
Applause from the audience for her for obvious reasons. Darian Jimenez Sanchez will go in lane 4, the reigning champion.
Representing Australia, Pardy
Ella Pardy, who was 5th last year. She was bronze medalist in the 4x100 metres back in Rio in 2016. Ali Smith made the final last year, didn't start. Looking for something special here, 12.94, her lifetime best. And Katerina Gimaresh had her first major championships for the 20-year-old.
Women's 100 meter T38 round 1.
So it will be the first 3 to go through. There's that wind meter there. It's into their face, a headwind of -2.9. Exactly the same as what it was in the previous heat. So 5 to go, 3 will go through definitively, and then we'll be looking for the next 2 fastest to advance through to the final. Now you would think from the last one that Luca Eckler, or Lindy Arb, I should say, will go through.
Fair.
So away they get, and it is Jimenez who breaks fastest of all. She absolutely flew out of the box. She's going through with Party at the moment. Smith is in 3rd place. It looks like it's going to be those three. Jimenez is going to take it across the line. Party in 2nd. Smith 13.05 for the winner in Jimenez. Well, she led from start to finish. She got out of the blocks really quickly. Ella Party takes 2nd position. Ali Smith going through in 3rd. 13.05 is that official mark which has been given to Jimenez. 13.38 for Party in 2nd position. And Smith going through in that 3rd automatic qualification position.
That was a fantastic start from Ali Smith, particularly as she's more known as a 400-meter runner. But we see that Jimenez Sanchez, she just separates herself with that top end speed. And how exciting for Colombia at the moment to have 2 incredible medal prospects, both with Palameke and Jimenez Sanchez.
Well, Guimaraes will go through in 13.86, so she has qualified along with Lindy Arb from the first. Unfortunately for Japan, Takamatsu Yuka doesn't go through.
Sultanov shot put, and we're in the final round now, and this is for a medal. He needs to improve by 8 centimeters, and he'll overtake Saman Pakpaz of Iran. 14.49, his best today.
This is an open field at the moment because the 2 men who went 1 and 2 were from Ukraine in Paris, and Ukraine hasn't sent a team. Now Sultanov finished in bronze, but again, there's 2 really important things at stake. It's not just about the medals, which obviously is quite important, but the top 2 athletes earn quota spots for their country when it comes to sending teams to Paris.
Saman Pakpaz, 14.56 is best so far. So many of the main contenders had a no throw in the penultimate round. He's gone that out to 14 meters. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. He is needing an extra 17 centimeters in order to overtake Shalina, who we saw come up with that magnificent lifetime best in round 3 of 14.72. Pakpaz certainly won't improve there. That's bouncing right on the 14-meter mark. So it will be bronze for Pakpaz for Iran. Jelena is in the top 2. Kim Lopez leads the way for Spain. So Jelena, lifetime best, 14.72 in round 3. And he needs an extra half meter exactly to match Kim Lopez for the gold on countback. Can he get another lifetime best? Oh, what a throw. That is beyond 15 meters maybe.
At just 23 years old, this is an event where we know athletes get stronger and stronger, and the weight of the shot does differ depending on the classification we're looking at. But in this event, they are throwing a 7.26 kilo shot put. That is the same weight they throw in the Olympics.
15 meters dead. The best throw of his life, and so close to a gold. Lopez is the champion again. Jelena went into this with a lifetime best of 14.30. Coming into the World Championships, he's beaten his lifetime best 3 times. 15 meters exactly. Fantastic by Jelena. I mean, he gave that everything. I don't think there was anything left in the tank for him to give. A brilliant performance from Jelena to take the silver. And Kim Lopez takes the gold medal. And that's his lap of honor. And maybe just to emphasize it, that might just be beyond 15 meters. Look at the marks. He's had 3 misses in a row. And that is actually now 4 misses in a row. It doesn't matter, because Kim Lopez for Spain is the world champion. 15:22. He did what he needed to. He held off Jelena. Only just. It's a day, I think, that Emil Jelena is not going to forget. And Pakbaj with the bronze for Iran, just edging out Sultanov. That was a really, really good final. And Kim Lopez Gonzalez, who we see so often picking up the gold, picking up medals, takes the gold here by a long way, and that's another one to add to the collection, and that's the arm that did it. 15 meters 22. He can go a couple of meters beyond that in his day. Certainly on one day he didn't need to today. 15:22, the winning throw. He did that in round 2. That was the only throw that would have won him the gold, and the 4 efforts after that were all fouls. That was the best of the day. It's an amazing set of marks. 14:20, actually. Had he stayed on that, had he not got the 15:22, he wouldn't have been in the medals. He would have missed out on the podium, but instead he has top spot. As we continue in the women's long jump, T37, and we've got a brilliant field in this. So this is when the champion and going team.
Well, she broke that championship record with an opening one of 5:42. It was her championship record she broke 5 years ago in Dubai. 20 centimeters she added to that record she'd already held, and she is quite some distance in front of everyone else already.
And these conditions really are perfect as a long jumper. It is hot. They've got an amazing tailwind behind them. And we're only just into round 3. Hopefully she can add even more to that total.
The tailwind has caused her a few problems. It has helped it to the lead of 5:42. Not eligible for a record because it was +2.7. It's 5:30. Her second longest, that is the championship record. It still comes up, which is a little bit confusing. But how about this for Anais Angeline, who has not won a major championship medal in her career, goes to the Open University in Mauritius, currently in second spot. Jeunesse, who won the bronze for France, a rare medal last year. I know there were so many neutrals who were urging them on and her on because they gave us a brilliant World Championships. Great crowds, I have to say, every night. Brilliant atmosphere. They just weren't winning a lot of medals. And then right at the end, she got the bronze medal in this long jump.
Now watch this technique from Jeunesse. She's one of the only ones I've seen that does it. She has almost this running action in the air. And actually, it's quite typical of how the French train all their athletes, able-bodied and in the paras. And it was a brilliant, brilliant bronze that she won in France. Now, at Paris 2023, only 4 medals were won by the French team, all of them bronze, but she was one of them, and she put down a PB in order to do it, which is great news for her ahead of a home Paralympic Games.
And we've reached halfway, and it's Wen who leads 5:42, and look at that margin. Anais Angeline, though, in silver for Mauritius. I'm pretty certain they have never won a field medal before. Their first ever medals coming last year were all on the track at the Worlds. This is the best for Wen so far. 5:42 in the opening round. It was a windy one, +2.7. It's a headwind for the track athletes in the 100 meters. It's firmly at her back. Just look at the wind underneath, +2.7, the championship record for 5:30. But right now, she's the only one to break 5 meters. She leads by almost a full meter ahead of Anais Angeline, who may be on the way to making even more massive history for Mauritius. We saw it last year. She finished, she's a really good track athlete too. Finished 4th in the long jump, so close to a medal, having been 7th in the Paralympic Games. Xiao Yuping winning the F13 women's javelin earlier. You saw that, 44.86. Natalia Eder, the silver for Austria. Her first global silver in 11 years, 38.52. And Dabrovskaya also with the bronze. African record for Bakta Benalu of Algeria. She was in 6th. And Kim Lopez, that was a real thriller at the end of the men's shot put F12, 15.22. Jelena, what a performance, lifetime best. Silver for Latvia, 2 lifetime bests today, 15 meters dead. He takes 2nd spot. And congratulations to Pakpaz with the bronze.
Women's 15 of 5,000 metres T54 final. There are only 3 who are set to go in this. It will be only a medal for the winner. No Catherine de Bruyne, no Manuela Schär at these championships. But we do have that lady there. And 2 others to go with her. Merla Marie Menya of Germany. Aline dos Santos of Brazil. And Tian Yajian of China will go in this one. 12.5 laps. And it's really a strange old one because we're so used to having a field of so many more in these events. And you sometimes have the odd accident that happens. But with 3 in it, it's going to be a very, very tactical race indeed. Do you go to the front? Do you just sit back on someone's wheel and do you wait? Or do you all take turns and wait for a couple of laps to go and then make you move them?
Representing Germany.
So Merla Marie Menya, who's the reigning European champion, taking gold back in Bydgoszcz in 2021. She was 5th last year in Paris.
Brazil, Dos Santos Roca Ali.
Aline dos Santos Roca, 4x400 metres in the 2012 London Olympics. In the T54. And Tian Yawan, who was 6th last year in Paris. She was 8th in the 800 metres in Paris as well. And she was 8th in the 1500 metres event, also in Paris. So there are 3 to go.
On your marks.
Steph, you're the husband of a wife, even. Your husband is a noted wheelchair racer, Brent Lakatos. And what do you think his thoughts would be on a race with 3 people in a major championship final?
Well, this will be quite interesting to see how it goes because, as you say, it's quite an unusual situation. And looking at the field, if you're a fan of the sport, you might be wondering where all the T54 women are. And I assure you that this is a very robust and competitive class. The thing is, well, 2 things. One, this isn't a particularly fast track for wheelchair racers. And what I mean by that is that track surface makes quite a big difference when it comes to times. And not that times matter at a championships, but they do matter when it comes to world rankings, and they do matter when it comes for selection for Paris 2024, as many of the countries will work off the minimum entry standard qualification list. And the thing is, after these championships, about a week after, the Notwell Grand Prix takes place in Switzerland. And that happens to be on one of the fastest tracks in the world. So in terms of athlete energy and the reality of budgets, several wheelchair racers have decided to focus their efforts there. But in regard to this particular race, the interesting thing is, and as an athlete, I would always want to race for gold. And the thing is, there only is 1 gold medal on offer because of the limited field. And so it'll be interesting to see if the athletes, right now it does look as though they are choosing to work together. You can see there that Tian is now looking at Menya saying, hey, I've done a bit of work. I'd really like it if you'd come in and take the lead. And what this does mean is if this race carries on like this, is the person who's going to win this is the one that can deliver the fastest 400 meters at the end.
Yeah, if you look at it this way, it's going to be a rather slow race as well because there's going to be not a great deal of energy used up, because if they realise they're going to go for a sprint in the last lap or two, then there's not going to be much energy used up in the meantime. It's an interesting point you bring up too about Knoxville happening just after this, because it's such a distance away from Europe where we are here in Kobe, that the travelling time getting back and with all your equipment and so forth, and sometimes things go missing by accident. It happens to us all, and you don't want those type of things to happen if you're looking to get back and try and set yourself a fast time after having competed here. So it is a difficult situation for a lot of the athletes to be in, hence we don't have a great deal of them here, but we do have these three athletes who are taking part at the moment, and as you quite rightly mentioned, they are working together on this final track event of the morning, the women's 5,000 metres T54 final, and one medal only to be given out, just a gold, with only three athletes. There are a few during these championships where there will be only one medal handed out, perhaps two handed out depending on the size of the field. We'll try and keep you updated on that as we go along and let you know just what will be happening before the race happens. But in this one, there will only be the one gold medal which is given out, and as it is at the minute, it will be Menya who will be taking that gold medal, because she's out in front presently with all three stuck to each other like flies to honey with 9 laps to go.
Menya took her turn, and she then had a look around to Dos Santos and said, now you lead. And actually what was interesting was to see how politely Tian let her back in. Typically, if you come off from the lead, you'll go to the back of the pack. But you can see Tian is quite happy at the moment just to track the two athletes, and technically she will be getting the better draft because she has the benefit of both. And now again we see this trade-off. We see that Dos Santos has let Menya come through and take it, and look, there's actually a burst of speed right now, and maybe they're hoping they're going to drop Dos Santos, but she has managed to slip back in, cling back into that draft. And speaking of the draft, it is a big deal, because if you are sitting behind another athlete, you are getting roughly a 30% energy savings. And you can actually see right now the two athletes in the front, they have these very specific carbon fiber wheelchairs, and so much effort has been put into lately making them as aerodynamic as possible.
Back into the long jump, and when our leader, it's been no change up to this point. Jeunesse 4:32 in this fourth round, still can't get into the medals. Chatiakova, the neutral athlete, in third, 4:41 with a lifetime best. Wen is dominating this, leading by almost a meter. And worth pointing out, Angeline Anne is currently in the silver medal position for Mauritius. They have never before won a field medal in World Para Athletics or World Athletics, full stop. When that will count as a championship record of 5:42. She's matched her best previously, and she is really dominating, a real stranglehold in the long jump.
Well, talking of China, as we move back to the track, it's Tian Yuan who leads at the moment. And just going back to what we were talking about a moment ago with that tailwind and with the drafting behind there, Menya has been at the front for a lot of this race. Do you think she's not an experienced athlete? She's been around for a few years. She's quite young already, but she's been around for a few years. But at 20 years of age or thereabouts, she's almost 20 years of age. She's been around for the last 3 years or so. Do you think maybe a lack of experience in a race like this might mean that she goes to the front more often than not?
Potentially, and actually we see it a lot on the men's side. The men who are dominating at this event tend to be in their mid-30s. If you're my husband, he's in his pushing a little bit to his mid-40s, and part of it is because this race in particular, it's not just about your physicality, it is also about strategy, and part of that strategy is making sure you monitor your effort, you make sure that you are in the right position. Someone who is so brilliant doing this, David Weir of Great Britain, he is someone who knows how to race. Marcel Hugh, he takes a different approach. He likes to go to the front and stay there, and he's very conscious to ensure that nobody is getting a free ride behind him. But this is part of it, and even though that there's only 3 athletes in this race, this is still a championship race. This is still a great learning opportunity, because you might find yourself in exactly this position in a race where you're in a pack of 3. Maybe there's a pack ahead of you or behind you, and you're having to work together to make sure either you're closing down the pack in front or the pack behind you isn't chasing you down.
Well, they're going to come down. They're going to have 2,000 metres left to go when they pass the finishing line. So 5 laps. They're working their way through. They've gone through 3 kilometres in just over 7 minutes. And the pace, it does quicken at times, and then it slows back, and they're just taking turns. It's almost like you'd almost look at and changing it into an 800-metre race, because you know at some point there, around that 800-metre mark, someone might make a move for it, and then the others are going to have to try and go with them, and they're going to try and drop someone. But the burn happens there. You do get that fatigue as it comes towards the end, so it's just a case of sticking with it and trying to get yourself into a really good position. I don't know whether you want to be at the front when it comes to 2 laps to go, or whether you want to be sort of towards the you want to be at the back and try and come around the outside. You've then got the issue where you've got to get around the outside of someone who then realizes and then counters by putting in that extra effort and then making it even harder for you to get around the outside.
I think when it comes, you're right, it is going to be a 1 or 2 lap burn up, and it's basically how fast an 800 can you do when you're already tired. But the thing is, I would want to be at the front, because looking at those chairs are between 1.2 to 2 meters long. So from first to third, you're already back a good 4 or 5 meters you then have to pick up. Now, one of the questions people ask is, how do they steer them? And if you're watching as they come around just there, we see that Menya has just hit what's called her compensator. So before the athletes come on the track, they have a compensator that's set to the radius of the track. Now, if you're doing a 400 meters and you stay in your lane, you set it to the lane that you're in, but most of these athletes will have set their compensator for lane 1. So what it means, instead of having to manually steer around that corner, athletes can just miss half a push by hitting their compensator and having it steer automatically for them.
Yeah, it's interesting there too. Menya's gone around the outside. She spent a good 200 metres there out in lane 2, so a bit of extra work she's had to do, as you wonder whether she's going to dip back in behind Tian here.
So what I would say there, we've now got 3 laps left. Now, Menya would have flagged if it's going to come down to a sprint, and if Tian is going to make a move. I suspect she's banking that Tian is a faster sprinter than DeSantos. So if she does go off, she wants to make sure she is tracking the right athlete. So you're looking around, you're gauging your competitors, trying to see what they're going to do, while also making sure that you've got your move ready to go and covered. And you see Menya there. She's positioned herself right in the center of that lane. So nobody can come on her inside. And if you're going to go around her, she's saying you're going to come around wide and take that extra distance.
Yeah, so Menya leads at the moment. Tian in second, and Dos Santos Roca, who is in 3rd position. But that means absolutely nothing at the moment until we get down to around, I'd say, the 600-metre mark. And they're coming around now. They're going to have 2 laps remaining. So when they get around half of this lap, we'll get an idea of what the strategy might be. She has moved out again, Menya, right out wide, even into lane 2, to force someone to go through the inside, which isn't going to happen because there won't be enough room as she moves back inside, and just slows things down a bit now, and just almost steeling herself for the fact that she's going to have to put on the hard yards at a moment or two's time, and those arms are going to have to work extra hard for the last 600 metres or so of this race. It's slowed right down, and we're just waiting, a bit like cycling at times when you see people just slow down going towards the end of a race as to who's going to put on that fast sprint at the end. It's just going to happen very, very soon. But she's moved out to the outside and allowed Tian to go through on the inside there. So she obviously feels comfortable, Menya, as they come around. They're around 550 metres to go in this one, and she's just sitting on the outside there. No one really wants to make a move at the moment.
Now, this is interesting. If I were Menya, I would not have given up my prime position. She's now just let Tian come to the front, and there is now only 1 lap remaining. So if Menya wants, maybe she wants to stay clear of any traffic, but I mean, I got to say, in this race, there's not much traffic. There's only 3 of them. So at the moment, Tian has the best position.
Yeah, this is going to be really hard now because Tian is just holding that position in the outside of lane 1. Menya slipped back in there and tried to get around the outside. She hasn't been able to do it. Now, going down the straight here, she's going to have to put the hard ones in here because she wants to try and get there before they get to that corner, but she's not going to be able to do that. So it's going to come down to the last 100 metres or so. And at the moment, Menya is doing the extra work around the outside. Dos Santos Roca, although she's in 3rd position and she's right in there, you feel at this point it's a race in 2 between Tian and Marie Menya of Germany. It is Tian who's there as Menya tries to take her now. Tian's put the big ones in. Menya's out there on wide, but it's going to be Tian who's going to take it by about a length of a chair. She has done that. Steph Reed spoke about a moment or 2 ago that she gave up that advantage, did Menya, and Tian has taken full advantage of it. has the Chinese lady. She's picked up the only gold medal, or the only medal of any type which is going in this race. And she's also going to cross in a time of 11:41, which is a championship record. So we thought it was going to be a slower race than we've seen in the past. That championship record set back in 2013 by Manuela Scher. It was 11:51, so they've taken 10 seconds off that, even though it didn't look like it was going to be a fast race. 11:41.76 is the official time for China's Tian Yawan. So a championship record, a gold medal again for China. And Menya perhaps missed a trick in that one, missing out by 0.20 of a second.
I would say fast is relative. So the actual world record stands at 10 minutes 33, and that was set on a very fast track. But you're right, I think that really was a race there won by Tian based on tactics. Menya was in pole position at the end, and she gave that up to Tian. And it was fascinating watching Tian as she came around that final lap. She spent the whole time watching Menya, waiting for her to start her sprint, knowing she was ahead. And you look at the margin with which Tian won. That is the length of the chair. Menya would have had the advantage had she just stayed in front.
Well, we talk about inexperience, and it may have harmed her a little bit. We'll give you a roundup of that in a moment or two's time, but let's go back to the women's long jump T37.
Heading into the final round, and it's Wen Xiaoyan who leads with that championship record, 5:42. Second time she's hit that mark. First round, it was a windy attempt, plus 2.7, but she's matched it in the fourth round. Her world record, by the way, 5:45, set in winning the Asian Games title in Hangzhou a year ago. Selma van Kermis just had her final attempt of 3:91, so she stays in sixth position. It is her best of the day. Liesel Gauss finally winning her first major championship medal last night in the 400 meters. Bronze it was. If she can get an extra 20 centimeters here, and she would be up in the medals of this. She's a 4:32 jumper. She's got out to 4:24 today, so she's pretty much right at her limit. 4:23 in the previous round. I mean, basically, she's had 4 attempts that are within 13 centimeters of her lifetime best. Looks to have taken a bit out of her as well. Might have been a slight limp on the way. She is beyond 4 meters, and she gave away the entire length of the board there of what, 15, 20 centimeters?
That board is 20 centimeters. But the thing is, I would always say, you are better off running as fast as you can and finding yourself a little bit behind the board as opposed to sighting the board and adjusting your stride just to make sure that you touch it.
Manon, the former para-triathlon world champion in 2016. She was European champion as well. She's won 3 European silvers, the 2, the 4, and the long jump. She's great in the long jump. Needs an extra 10 centimeters here. Maybe, just maybe, it's a white flag. 4:34 in the opening round for Junest, and Tretiakova, 4:41, is currently in third.
Watching Janesse, she has absolutely beautiful technique. I mean, in the air, it really is quite majestic. But the difference is Wen is a 12:59 sprinter. And, you know, triathlon, they're a longer distance. And so one of the things that Janesse would have had to work on is her sprint speed.
It's her best, but it is not good enough. So what that means is that Tretiakova, for the first time, is a long jump championship medalist, and Janesse, who finished third last year, a brilliant bronze in the long jump. She hasn't been able to repeat it, and it hurts. It really hurts. Tretiakova, formerly a silver medalist in the 400 meters back at the last Europeans. 4:41, an extra 9 centimeters would get her into second place. That second place is very significant. More about that in a moment. But Lena Tretiakova, she was coached for a long time by Boris Zvornikov. I'm not sure if she still is. But it's a very good conversion into the long jump. It's her first championship in a long jump.
Now, just to know, watch your sunglasses. Now, you can, of course, wear sunglasses as you compete, but if you're wearing a hat or sunglasses and they fall off into the pit, that mark will actually be taken off from where the thing on you lands.
Brilliant lifetime best for Tretyakova. She's broken it twice today. 4:46. But here is the first ever field medalist in any form of World Athletics for Mauritius. Only the third ever Mauritian medalist at a World Championship after Naomi Alphonse and Giovanni Philippe last year. Angeline and Ace, magnificent. Angeline takes the silver. It is magnificent for her country. It is wonderful for her. She's been competing in major championships for almost a decade. And at the age of just 25, she claims a World Championship silver medal in World Para-Athletics and in World Athletics full stop. They have never won a field medal. They've never won a World Athletics medal in the global able-bodied scene. They now have 3 medalists all-time and 4 medals in total at World Championships after Naomi Alphonse last year and Giovanni Philippe last year. Now it's Anaïs Angeline who takes the silver, and Wen has the gold. Maybe she was thinking of breaking her own world record. That can come in Paris, maybe. But Wen retains her title. It is her 4th long jump world gold. She's won the last 2 Paralympic long jump crowns, the last 2 Asian Games long jump titles. She's set a new championship record today. It is wonderful for Wen. It is awesome for Angeline. Just magnificent. Tretyakova gets the bronze medal as a neutral athlete. It's a really excellent piece of domination by Wen. She won by almost a meter, but a lot of the story today is about the woman who finished in 2nd place, and Anaïs Angeline for Mauritius gets the silver. Wen, the champion again, only 3 centimeters off her own world record set in Hangzhou in retaining her Asian Games title. It's all about the retention, and she retains the gold. She is a long jump world champion for a 4th time. She's won the last 6 global long jump crowns. When? It's now.
So we're looking at her winning jump, 5'42", which she actually jumped twice, but this was the one that counted because it was with a 0.0 wind. On her last jump, she already knew that she had won, and so it was a run through. But where she really sets herself apart from the other jumpers, it's not in technique, it is just her raw power and speed. But what a brilliant thing for Angeline, just behind Wen at the moment. Nothing like making history with a personal best. And it's so great when you see a country win a medal in an event for the first time, because this is what it takes for World Para-Athletics to truly be a global sport.
And it still really hurts Manon Geneste that, having claimed that bronze medal last time out, she was not able to get into the top 3 this time. And with a slightly reduced field, it was a much bigger field in Paris last year. Maybe she felt there was a medal for the taking here. She was 11 centimeters out. Tretyakova had a new lifetime best, 4:46 in the last round, having broken it a couple of times today. Anaïs Angeline. Well, if you're awake in Mauritius, I don't think you're going to bed. There were a couple of million who saw the video of her claiming the Naomi Alphonse claiming her country's first medal last year. This from earlier, the women's javelin F13, Zhao Yuping, gold for China, 44.86. Natalia Eder, the silver for Austria, and a very, very good bronze medal as well, going to Karnashova of Kazakhstan. This is how it happened. Lizaveta Dabrovolskaya, 34.72, overtaking the Kazakh thrower right at the end. Lifetime best by a metre to claim the bronze. The former European champion, Natalia Eder of Austria, formerly a world silver medalist in 2013 in Lyon, and back in the second step of the podium for the first time since 2013. But here's our winner, and she is now a 4-time world champion, Zhao Yuping of China. She's done it again. 44.86. Each of her throws that counted would have been enough to win the gold in their own right. Zhao Yuping, the gold for China. Natalia Eder, the silver for Austria. Lizaveta Dabrowskaya, the bronze for the neutral para-athletes, who will all be celebrating, I have no doubt. Ben Alou getting the new African record for Algeria in 6th spot. It's just like they'll be dancing on the streets of Total Network Solutions. Unbelievable, Jeff.
Men's shot put F12. Kim Lopez Gonzalez 15.22. Gilna with that lifetime best with his final throw, picking up a silver medal for the first time, and Pakbaz 14.56 taking that bronze medal. And here is Saman Pakbaz in that third place finish, 14.56 with that throw. Silver medalist in 2016 in Rio, gold medalist in the Worlds in London in 2017, but couldn't replicate it this time, had to settle for the bronze. This young man, though, his final throw elevated him 70 centimetres above his former lifetime best coming into it, which was 14.30. This 15 exactly. He also is a renowned javelin thrower, but he's now made himself a name in shot put. He's yet to turn 24. That'll be next month. This man here, though, full of experience, Kim Lopez Gonzalez, the double Paralympic champion, double European champion. He also has a world championship. 15.22. Now his lifetime best is 17.10. He has the world record. Doesn't have the championship record, but he'll be happy with a championship gold. Kim Lopez Gonzalez of Spain. So that's how it finished. Lopez Gonzalez with the gold, Gilna with the silver lifetime best, and Pakbaz with a bronze medal, 14.56 for the man from Iran.
That was Gilna's first championship medal as well. While we're here, by the way, a quick word about the F55 shot put world champion, Rashid Misjadi of Iran. He has sadly passed away at the age of 35. He was due to defend his title here. He was the Asian champion, but he has died. And our sympathies to his family and all his connections. Luca Eckler taking the victory in the women's 100 meters T38. She's a title to defend. Palamake, the T37 champion, moving to T38 reclassification. Really tight between those two. Chen and Ave going through to the final as well. Darian Jimenez, Elapadi Ali Smith and Katrina Guimarães progressing as well. The latter for the USA with a new lifetime best. So these are the qualifiers. Darian Jimenez of Colombia, the fastest. That looks like it's going to be some final. This was some final in the women's long jump. T37, the second strongest of the coordination impairment levels. really, really good event. When Zhao Yan defends her title, claims a 6th global long jump crown in a row, championship record for China. Anish Angeline, the silver for Mauritius, their first ever field medal at Para Athletics, and Elena Tretiakova gets the bronze. Chen Yajuan with the championship record to claim the women's 5,000 meters T54. Mela Menya, the silver for Germany, just missed her chance in the sprint finish. Elena dos Santos Roca in 3rd for Brazil. Just the gold medal was available in that for varying reasons. And the school kids are still here, having an absolute ball, and very welcome to extra generation watching on and hopefully taking a lot in. And with so many schools who brought their children in that far stand, the open stand over on the far side of the back straight, and around the first bend of the 400 meters, that it was a walloping good crowd yesterday morning. I still estimate a few thousand here this morning, but something like 8,000 or 9,000 yesterday. I do feel Tokyo for the Paralympic Games would have had quite tremendous crowds had fate not taken a hand. I'm glad to say we're getting really good crowds in Kobe.
The event itself, they've really gone out of their way to make sure that it's advertised well on our train rides in. There's tons of signage all throughout the metro, and with the school children, and that also makes a huge difference.
When claiming the long jump, just to see this visually, championship record 5:42. Anish Angeline, the silver for Mauritius, and the bronze for Tretiakova. And the reason we're showing it to you is because let's go through the medal-winning leaps. Lena Tretiakova in a long jump for the first time and breaking a lifetime best twice. It's a final effort for 46 to claim the bronze, holding off Manon Jeunesse of France, who had claimed the bronze last time. But here is a little piece of history. Anish Angeline, having seen her teammates Noemi Alphonse and Giovanni Philippe on the track, claimed the first ever medals for Mauritius in World Para-Athletics. Here she is doing it in the field, in the long jump. Her country's first ever field medal. She's only the 3rd ever Mauritian to claim a medal at a World Para Championships, the 2nd woman to do so. And the reason she's 2nd is because Wen is right on time again. 5:42. She missed out in the last round, but each of her attempts would have won the gold by a huge amount. Only 15 centimeters between the 5 efforts. She left 5:42 twice, and this is the one that broke the championship record in round 4. The previous one didn't. It was wind assisted. This one was all her own work. Wen Zhaoyan takes the gold for a 4th time at a World Championships in the long jump, because she's not bad in the 100 or the 200 either. Wen the gold, Angeline the silver, Tretiakova the bronze. I know the Mauritian coaches, the entire squad, was so delighted last year with their first medals. Saw one of them a couple of days ago, actually at the press conference when Naomi Alphonse was speaking. And wow, this is brilliant for Mauritian sport. And let's see if this is going to be brilliant for Colombia as the women's discus F57 reaches its thrilling climax.
Well, this was the first event of the morning. I said at the time it might be the last event as well. There's still 4 to go. Including Paredes Muriel. And that is only her first attempt as well, just to let you know. We have 3 more to go after this. And including the reigning champion, Nassima Saifi. I can tell you as well, Saifi, before she's even gone, has been given a yellow card. Her Algerian compatriot, Safia Jalal, who is currently in second position, also given a yellow card. That'll be for non-compliance of equipment as per yesterday, which I'm sure will be fixed before she goes. So Paredes has already moved herself up into 6th position with an opening throw of 27.03. Three attempts and then they get to have a rest. Have a drink, readjust and go again.
It's actually been quite a tight competition so far. We saw Aniva from Bulgaria at the beginning. She's just been pushed out of bronze medal position by 20 centimeters. Positions 3, 4, and 5 currently occupied by athletes who have all been in the 29-meter region. But we still have the world record holder to come.
Well, no change for Paredes. 27.03 with a first, 26.87 with a second, and a foul with a third. So she has a drink now. That went out of the quadrant, that one. Quick rest. Reassess.
No. Start. 始めます。3番.
You can see Paredes there instructing the official, no, I want to keep going. I'm in the groove. To be fair, she has already been out there a very, very long time.
Well, that one's out around the 27-meter mark as well. .28.84 is Paredes' lifetime best. 28.16 this year is a season best. So she hasn't got anywhere up near that just yet. .27.47, so an improvement.
6番.
60 centimetres improvement, as a matter of fact. So that's a bit more what she's looking for. 2 more to go. She's got a bit of work to do. She needs to find a good 2.5 metres if she wants to find herself up in the medal positions. The Colombian. Well, that one's a little bit shorter than what she's thrown so far. And you get to this stage there, you mentioned it, Steph, that she's been sitting out in the, not in the sun, but sitting around for a while, having to wait a good 2.5 hours or so until she gets her opportunity. And then it's a case of having to get out there and just lift yourself up.
It is tough, but athletes are aware of the circumstances of a championship competition. And actually, even as a field event athlete, as it came closer and closer towards the Paralympics and the World Championships, I would practice specifically with my coach. I would come out and I would come to the session and I would sit for an hour, and then I would warm up and I would sit again for 20 minutes, just because when you come out here, that is what you're having to face, and so you have to get your body and your mind geared up for that. And it's possible. We can learn to do anything, but it does take a little bit of specific training to do that.
Well, I'm going to be a bit controversial when I say this here as well. That when the seated events start as the first event of the day, they then finish as the last event of the day. Unfortunately, some of the people start to leave when it's getting to the business end of the better throwers who are throwing towards the end of the competition because of the seedings. So would we not be better off starting it a little bit before the session is scheduled to start, so that when it gets towards that business end and the medals are about to be given out, everyone is still here in the stadium watching on?
Yeah, it's true. I think with a lot of para events, it's impossible to love or get behind a sport that you don't fully understand. And so I think it's probably two things. One, it's just helping the audience to understand that this is a competition that's going to take place over a long period of time. And because of the nature of having to strap into and out of chairs and the way that athletes have to take 6 throws in a row, as opposed to being able to respond immediately, for example, in a long jump or in 100 meters where everything happens super quickly and all the athletes happen together. It's not that kind of event. But I think about it, I'm going to be controversial back at you. Golf takes a really long time to get through, and people will still watch that all day, won't they?
I'm not even going to respond.
I would
Might get myself in trouble.
I would chip in a couple of thoughts as well, and that some of these competing in this were already competing for a couple of hours yesterday morning in the qualifier.
Yeah, just to round up Paredes of Colombia, who just finished then, so 26.50 with her final attempt, so 27.47 her best one with her fourth, so no progress on where she was at that point. She was in 6th position, and she will stay in 6th position as it stands at the moment. So we have 3 more left to go, including the reigning champion Nassima Saifi of Algeria, Zhu Yan of China, as well as Sultana Keramida of Greece, who holds the European record for the javelin, which was set last year, this time going in the discus.
Now, I would say as well, you have a situation in World Athletics where you've got the decathlon and the heptathlon, which normally have their events at the end of morning sessions, let's say. A lot of the time the crowds have gone. The only time I've ever seen crowds stay on that and nobody leaving was at the London Olympic Games, which was absolutely astonishing. You'd have 80,000 staying beyond lunchtime to watch events in both the decathlon and the heptathlon. Obviously, they'd Jessica Ennis to watch. They had home interest in that. But I remember, I think it was the decathlon went on in right through the afternoon, between the morning session and the evening session at the European Championships in Munich 2 years ago, and you'd 3 or 4 additional hours of competition with maybe 1,000 people in the stadium. Probably less than that in a 50,000 stadium in Munich, and they have to go through that all the time. That happens in the other circuit as well. Been a lovely day in Kobe, but as I say, as you can probably tell, it gets very, very cold at night, which is why these sessions are wrapping up just as darkness is hitting around 8 p.m. I've got the picnic out. That's good thinking. You're not going anywhere until the discus is over. Thank you. Another half an hour. Well, I'm glad that group are sticking around watching the entertainment over on the back straight. Just a little bit of manoeuvring in and out for the final 3 athletes, including one of the big favourites, Nassima Saifi, but also at the end, Sultana Keramida, who was one of those, by the way. Kamadova, Asian record for Uzbekistan of 33.28, and we can have a look at it. She leads, all the throws coming at once. And she loved it. That was her last attempt, by the way. Smashed the Asian record. She's in the gold medal position. All 6 of her attempts better than anyone else so far in the competition.
She has to hope she can stay there, because the next lady up is the lady who defeated her last year in Paris, Nassima Saifi.
I was about to say about Keramida, which slipped out of my mind earlier. She's the last to throw in this, but she was one of the qualifiers from yesterday. So she's been out there the longest, waiting to throw both yesterday morning and this morning.
Well, that's the thing. There were 6 qualifiers yesterday, and 4 of those qualifiers have gone through. So they had to wait around for a period of time yesterday and then wait around for a period of time today.
We can see there why it takes such a long process to get all of the athletes settled. You can see just how hard they are cranking those tie downs. But again, that seated chair, that's what provides the athletes with a stable base from which to throw. And I have to say, that cheer, that scream from Kadamova, that was the one that caused the restart. Not the restart, but the removal back on the 1,500 meters. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
They're throwing right beside where the 1,500 meter start is, and they had to reset one of those races just to ensure we didn't end up in a position with a false start.
Can't even duly chastise someone for that either, because it was in competition.
T11, T13.
Yeah.
C'est la vie. I think they've enjoyed their morning, and we have very much enjoyed having them here.
I must say it's an exceptionally organised state of chaos that they come in and go out in as well.
I have to say, like, we were leaving here at, well, I can't remember what time, it was about 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, and the trains were still full of commuters coming back from work, and even some people coming back from school at that time, remarkably. Not them, though. I'm pretty sure they weren't there.
Reminds me of myself. Once upon a time. Many, many years ago. Look, they're waving to you. Wave back.
It's a great way of getting on TV at this stage of the day.
Everywhere Will Downing goes, people know him.
It's been a real fun championship so far, and it has been really wonderfully advertised around the city. 1.5 million people, 7th largest city in Japan, right alongside Osaka as well. I cannot tell you how well advertised it has been there.
Serviced by 2 airports as well. Kobe Airport, which is a little bit shorter than Osaka, which I think you came in from.
Yeah, I came in from Osaka Airport, which is on an island, and you came in from Kobe Airport, which is on an island. I hope you enjoyed the boat trip over. It was really good. Yeah, Osaka hosted the 2007 IAAF World Championships, which wasn't bad.
I did get the aptly named Portliner, which is actually a train.
I mean, it's got 2 boat names in it, a port and a liner. How can it not be a boat?
I was disappointed.
So I'd have thought as well, because there's a Kansai Airport, Osaka, it's out on the island on Osaka Kobe Bay. It would be actually really appropriate to have a boat trip there if you wanted to go to Kobe. It'd be a lot quicker anyway.
Well, things might change a little bit now, as Nassima Saifi gets herself ready to go. They're in the practice throw stage at the moment.
Yeah, Timur and I plays from Mongolia, and I've always thought they would be a really interesting host for any sporting event. They don't get to host a huge amount, but it'd be a really interesting place to go to.
Not far away.
Yeah, we can parachute in on the way back.
Practice your Mongolian history about Genghis Khan. So that's the opening throw for the reigning champion, Nassima Saifi of Algeria. Lifetime best of 35.76, which is also the F57 world record. We do have one F56 going in this, and that is Karamida, who is the last to go. But it is, for the strict purposes, a F57 competition.
78番
So Saifa up into second position already, 30.80 with her opening throw, and that one is a lot longer indeed. And that should just about put her into the gold medal spot after throw number 2.
After watching some of these throwers, the thing that really sets Saifi apart, you can see the way that disc flows through the air, the way it leaves her hand. It's just so balanced and cuts through.
Well, Kamdamova is upset there because she knows she's now to the silver medal position, because 33.90 for Nassima Saifi puts her up into the gold medal position after a second attempt. 62 centimetres further
78番
than the Uzbekistan athlete, Kamdamova. Disappointment for her then in the silver medal, down from the gold, but great excitement for this lady with her third attempt before she takes the break. Oh, it doesn't like that one.
Well, actually, you could see that one had just that little bit of a wobble, and as much as the power in the upper body and the way you slingshot that arm around, the release also matters, the way that discus leaves your hand.
You can take 1 minute rest.
Just heard the official there saying you can get 1 minute rest.
レスト取ります
Just coming up to, just gone past 10 to 12 local time in the morning here on Saturday. The evening session getting underway at 5 p.m. local time.
始めます
If you're in the area and you so wish, you can catch all the victory ceremonies from the events that have happened yesterday, which will be happening in between. This now throw number 4 for Saifi. Well, that one looks, with the naked eye, as though it might be a little bit further than the 33.90 she threw with her second attempt. Her third one, by the way, was 32.21, just before she took that break and a drink of water. That one you're seeing there was throw number 4. So 2 more left to go. 33.63, so it doesn't improve.
78番
She has relegated Kamdamova, the Paralympic champion, though, into the silver medal position. Well, that one looks longer. That one looks much longer. Now, the championship record was 35.76. She set back in November of 2019 in Dubai. It's a very classy field, this one. We've got the Paralympic champion, Kamdamova. We've got the reigning world champion in this lady, Saifi. We've also got Jalal, who's the reigning Paralympic shot put champion. So it's a field full of strength. 33.56.
78番
With that fifth attempt. This is the final attempt as she looks to defend the championship medal she won last year in Paris. And that one's out there around the same mark. So I don't think there'll be an improvement on what she's thrown so far. 33.90 at best. As she starts to unhook herself and go through that laborious process of moving out and then moving someone in. .33.31 with that final one. So season best 33.90 with her second attempt for the reigning champion Nassima Saifi of Algeria. Now, it did mean that Mukagul Kandamova, the Paralympic champion, has been relegated into the silver medal position at the moment. She took silver last year as well, behind Saifi when we were in Paris. So further disappointment for the Uzbekistan athlete, and she looks ahead towards defending that Paralympic championship later in the year in Paris. But that lady on screen there, quite rightly happy with herself, because she is on the verge of making it back-to-back gold medals at World Championships within the space of only 10 months. Kisses all round, smiles. Perhaps she might be doing the Rafa Nadals and biting into that gold medal a little bit later.
I always laugh when people do that to my medal, because I just think, do you know how many people have done that?
You have one that you just use. You've only got one that you use for people to look at, haven't you? And the rest to put away.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, because a lot of athletes, some want to frame them and put them on their wall, but I think if I put it in a frame, then I couldn't take it around. But what my husband and I did, we kind of have one medal that we'll take around, because that way, you know, you can hand it out, you can let kids play with it, do whatever they want, you're not really worried about it. I had one lady actually who was looking at it, she dropped it on the concrete floor. It was completely fine, but she was devastated. But I thought, no, like, it's fine to, you know, these things happen and you just enjoy it.
It's probably one of Brent's medals. That's probably
it was definitely Brent's.
Yeah. I thought that would be the case. It's a funny old thing. It's like caps, for example, as well, when it comes to caps that people get for sport when you win an international cap. And it is an actual cap. Now, do you put the cap on your head and walk around with it, or do you... I have this issue in my family with one of my children. I won't go into it, but this child has got caps, and we're trying to work out, do you frame them, or do you put them in a box? What do you do with
hang
them?
on, I genuinely always thought that was metaphorical. Now,
No?
we're talking a baseball cap or a beret?
No, actually, it's the old-fashioned cap with a peak.
Oh, okay.
I'll find you a...
Very classy.
While we're talking away here, and I'm sure Will wants to come in on the club throw... Oh, sorry, on the discus and talk about it. So while Will has a chat about that and what Nassima Saifi is possibly going to do in winning this competition, I'll find that picture for you.
And the main stand here, we've got a bit of program reading going on.
Well, actually, I have to say, this next throw will be quite interesting with Zhu Mian from China, because at the moment, Algeria currently occupies positions 1 and 3 on the podium. However, Zhu's personal best of 31.49 could change that significantly.
It's one of the peculiarities in terms of the scheduling of this. There's still quite a lot who want to stay. See the final 2 throws for Zhu Mian of China and Sultana Karamida of Greece, who's the only F46, by the way, in this competition. They found their own personal section there as well. That's the back straight. The school parties have headed home. Just approaching midday now in Kobe. It's due to hit 28 Celsius today, which is great. Normally when these championships are on, it's much hotter time of year. When those World Championships were on in Osaka in 2007, in what were then the IAAF World Athletics Championships, you'd be going around at midnight. You'd only need a t-shirt on. It was absolutely baking.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Really strong winds here the couple of days before competition, which have really abated since then, thankfully. Like I say, temperature really drops towards the end of the sessions. So Zhu Mian getting her practice throws in. Silver in the shot put behind Safia Jalal last year in Paris at the Stade de Charlatan. She just missed out on a medal. Went out to 30.43 in this discus. She was 6 centimeters off the bronze, and Flalia Estrada, who needed America's record to do it. That was 30.43. Since then, she's gone a meter beyond that. Meter beyond that would be pushing towards the top 3. Look how close Estrada got to 30 meters today, just a centimeter away. Still getting her practice throws in. Well, I'll give you a peculiarity. 30.49 was bronze last year. 30.49 is bronze right now. As for Safia Jalal of Algeria, Nassima Saifi leading on 33.90. Basically, for Zhu Mian to beat that, she needs to add 2.5 meters onto her lifetime best. So when you're doing these practice attempts, and I know you've come from a different event, but just as the competition's about to begin, like you're doing your practice jumps or whatever, how much of a percentage are you putting in? Is it 80, 90? You're not going full tilt anyway.
Well, it depends, because I come from a long jump background, and so we would do a few different things. We would do just a runway. But if you're setting up a runway, the thing is, you can't run it at 80%. You have to commit and run it at 100%. Otherwise, the mark is going to be out. So we would do the runway. Personally, I loved taking as few jumps as possible because I wanted to save everything for the actual competition. I was someone who got tons and tons of adrenaline. So it really is that fine balance between working through the different sort of things that you need to do to warm up. But once you're out on that field, there's no point in practicing what it feels like at 80%. You go for it.
Yeah, the reason I was asking that, because you, as her first marked attempt there, I was just wondering if she was going about 100% for her throws. They were landing around 30 meters, and this one lands around 30 meters.
You can just see there on her disc compared to Saifi, there's a wobble on Zhu's disc as she lets it go, and that just affects the way that it cuts through the air. So even if she's generated all this power, you're then fighting a little bit of resistance.
So 30.08 puts her in 4th place above Estrada. Just as it was last year, 30.49 is the bronze medal mark. Zhu Mian is a 31.49 thrower, so that would be, if she replicates that, good enough for bronze with 1 throw to go.
You can see there just how particular athletes are about that disc, and it really is that connection, that grip, because the way the discus leaves your hand affects its flight. So when the official came in, she had the choice of 2 different discs. You want to have choice. She then cleaned it off with that towel, all before she set for her throw.
Oh, that's good. That is beyond 30. That might get her in the medals. So Safia Jalal, 30.49, hanging on in bronze for now. And that might have just gone beyond. I should point out Kiramida, who's the last to go, lifetime best is 10 meters behind this. Zhu Mian goes into bronze, and surely it will be bronze for her. Jalal has no right of reply. All of her throws are done, and Jalal will not be on the podium today, but Zhu will be, unless Karamida adds 10 meters to her lifetime best. Silver in last year's shot, and Zhu Mian will be back on a world championship podium again. She was the one who missed out agonizingly in 4th last year in this discus at the Stade Charlotte. That's around the same range. She is producing some brilliant throws. She's had a long wait. The competition is now gone on 3 hours and 5 minutes, and obviously they're not out at the dot of 9 a.m. That's when the competition starts. They're out at about 8:50. It's a very long morning for them all. Zhu Mian has waited longer than the rest, bar one. 31.55, that is a lifetime best by 6 centimeters. Kamdamova, with her gold medal run previously in the silver here, and despite that, an Asian record of 33.28. Added almost a meter onto it. And for Zhu, well, she's got the pleasant situation of knowing that she's going to be on the podium, and just how much further she can add on to it now.
As an athlete, to hit lifetime best territory in the championships really is the best feeling. You can't control whether or not you get a medal, but you can control your own performance. So to know that you've done that and you now have 3 throws left, that is exciting.
Lifetime best was 31.49. Coming into this, Saifi had the gold last year. Kamdamova, the silver. It's the same 1-2 as last year. And Floria Estrada, who won last year's bronze with the America's record, down in 5th now because of that brilliant set of marks from Zhu Mian. That's just bounced right on the 30-meter line, just inside it. She's had her break. In a way, it's a pity she had to have that break, which is mandatory, because she got a good move going. She had really good momentum.
You just see her looking around. Her coach is about 30 meters from her. And sometimes all you need is just that one cue, that one thing that you've been working on in practice. Just focus on that, and that is what translates into pulling out another. She's already had a personal best, but you have to think, you have to be a little bit greedy as an athlete and think, you know what, I want to add a bit more onto that.
Yeah, 29.72 was her 4th mark, which actually, in its own right, would have been something like top 5 or top 6. So she's certainly putting the quality throws in. She's going to get the bronze medal, that's for sure. We still have one thrower to go who is not a 30-meter thrower. Well, not yet. She might be in a few minutes, but we'll see. That seemed the shortest yet, and it's a foul that she's taken anyway. Zhu. 31.55, lifetime best for her, for Kamdamova as well. With that Asian record, a new lifetime best. And she's got one more throw, and that really is the last medal throw of this competition. I think Karamida was seeing on social media yesterday, she was in a bit of a celebratory mood that she had made the final. Well, it's still to come. She will be the last to throw after Zhu's final efforts here for China. In the away kit, if you like, of sky blue. Certainly, they've hit the heights today, and other events in the women's javelin and in a very entertaining long jump competition. I think we're going to have that's another foul, by the way, for Zhu, so her 2 final attempts miss out. I think we're going to have an absolutely thrilling T38 women's 100 meters final. Field in that is very, very hot, very stacked. Luca Eckler just keeping out Palameke by a 100th of a second. Chen and Lindy make it as well. And Darian Jimenez of Colombia being faster than the lot in her heat. So Zhu will get the bronze, Kamdamova the silver, Saifi the gold. There is still one to go. The lifetime best is 21.5 meters. And you don't like to declare these things in advance, but say the 99 point, you know the rest. Chances are Zhu has the bronze. Definitely Saifi and Kamdamova are absolutely on the podium. And it will be something quite crazy if Zhu does not get the bronze. But Keramida has made the final. She has the right to throw, and she's going to do that in a few minutes. But hey, Zhu Mian has done really well. And she adds the bronze in the discus here to last year's shot. And Saifi picks up another big gold. Took the honours in Dubai with the world record in 2019. 35.76, she's not surpassed that since. Came almost 2 meters away from it today. Took the title by just about 62 centimeters over Kamdamova's Asian record. Good set of marks for Saifi as well. And we're almost done. There's not very many events in which the main competitors haven't come. The T54, the longer races, that has been the case, as we've seen earlier with the 3-person women's 5,000 meters final, which I have to say is usually one of the most thrilling events of the week. And okay, it was a good 3-way finish in this, but normally sometimes you've got a 7 or an 8 woman finish and man finish as well coming up to the line.
It's been interesting that there's been a range of different opinions and athletes having different strategies when it comes to managing 2 global championships within 3 months. And several of the athletes here have just said, hey, we're professional athletes. 1, we love to race, and 2, it's 3 months. There is plenty of time. But then we do have other athletes who have chosen to focus on the Paris 2024 Paralympics. We've seen a few of the wheelchair racers do that. Speaking of the T38 100 meters, Sophie Hahn is not here as well. She's also chosen to do that. So it's interesting to see the variety of how athletes are choosing to manage it. Some see it as an incredible opportunity. The first time in history you have the chance to earn both titles in 1 year.
And there are some competitions in which a few of the best have gone, so it's opened the door for others to come along, and it's still a world title. It means exactly the same in 2024 as it did in 2023. And for next year's World Championships, wherever they'll be in 2025, that announcement will come very, very shortly. Next Europeans will be 2026, after a 5-year break. So finally, after COVID did its worst, we are back on the regular schedule next year. It only took 5 years. These championships were originally due to be held in the summer of 2021 and then got bumped a year. Then got moved, if I remember, to April 2024, and very shortly after that to May 2024, and here we are.
I mean, it is quite amazing that they are, in fact, taking place, and it just shows the commitment and dedication the organizing committee had to hosting these games and having to adapt. There we saw the selection of discs that you can choose to throw. Now, many of the athletes will travel with their own disc, and they'll submit it before the competition starts, the technical committee, just to make sure that it complies with all the regulations. But technically, any athlete competing has the choice of any disc that is put into the field of discs to use. So if you feel like it, you can use your competitors.
Kind of like the modern pentathlon on the horses.
Did you ever consider a career in throwing?
I did, actually. I did attempt to throw a javelin once. Sadly, I had very limited instruction. And really, my only experience throwing anything was a baseball. I actually was a decent baseball player. However, as I discovered, throwing a baseball and throwing a javelin are two incredibly different arm motions,
yes.
Sadly, from memory. I believe at some point the back of the javelin smacked the back of my head, and it was a rather unsuccessful outing. So I stuck with sprinting and long jumping.
Yes, one goes up at a sort of 45-degree angle, and one has to come flat out of your hand, arm, and straight across next to your ear almost as you're going almost across your body.
Sure thing. Intellectually, I did understand that, but just the action that your shoulder has to take, it is so unbelievably awkward. And I actually have quite flexible shoulders over the summer. I did the butterfly, but that slingshot action, and then even though I was absolutely terrible at it, it did give me a huge amount of appreciation for just how technical these throwing events are, discus shot and javelin.
Not to mention the fact about where you've got to throw from as well, because you've got that little stutter that you've got to do before you get to the throw, and then you've got to make sure you're not going over the line to foul as well. So there's a bit of a difference technically in there, isn't there, as well as throwing the javelin. Not just doing that, but there's the run-up and everything that goes with it compared to throwing a baseball standing still.
That is true. Well, and to be fair, I actually cringe when I watch the javelin, because when you see that event in slow motion, and really as you throw the javelin, the way you get the distance is by slamming the brakes on your body. You build up all this speed, and then you have to decelerate as quickly as you can, and the force that goes through your knees, through your back, I think, do you know what? I'm not that sad. My body's do going through that.
Yeah.
Athletes have to be so well conditioned in order to handle the forces that we see on the track.
Well, here's the lady
in the field
who holds the European record for javelin, which she set last year, Sultana Karamida. So that her key event. This one, lifetime best, a little bit short at 21.41. So we'll be looking around that first mark, as we can see there. And that will be her first mark, and that's around the probably 17 meters or so for that one there. So I think we are fairly safe to say that the order which we have at present will be the order in which they actually finish up. Saifi, Kandamova, and Zhu in that order.
We should mention that Karamida is an F56, so she is competing in the F57 event. Now, there are times when another class is eligible to compete in a class that they're not in, and this is one of them. So in an ideal scenario, we would have separate events for 57 athletes and for 56 athletes, but sometimes it does come down to practicalities, and it's not great to have a field of perhaps 3 or 4 women in a final, and so where it works, sometimes classifications will be grouped together.
Yeah, she's the only one that's F56 in this category out of the 12 athletes, so it does make it a bit more difficult and problematic, but like you said, it's very difficult to then have a separate competition with a few people in it.
Exactly, and what that means, the difference between a 57 and a 56, it's just related to your level of impairment. So obviously I don't know Karamida's medical history or anything like that, but in general it would just mean that she has access to less muscles to make this movement happen.
Well, the second one was an improvement on the first. It was over the 20-meter mark, 20.98, and that one is over the 20-meter mark as well, somewhere similar to what her second one was. So she's halfway through. She can now opt to have a little drink and a break before going again.
You can take a rest 1 minute.
So she has
Okay.
broken her season best, which was 20.52 coming into this. So a new season best of 20.98.
We don't have cold one.
Unsurprisingly, you heard the officials then saying we don't have cold water because it's been out in the sun for a few hours. There's the difficulty as well as when you go towards the end, that the ice will melt after a while, strangely enough.
And actually, we should give a shout out to the officials, particularly in this event, because while all the athletes have been out there, we have a very dedicated team of officials who have been standing out there in the sun, in the ready position. And by ready position, I mean they have to watch that discus really carefully and be ready to move in and get that marker there as soon as possible. So we very, very much appreciate our officials in this event.
That one under the 20-metre mark. So there'll be no improvement with throw number 4. Now, you don't see it on these pictures, but we get to see it because we're here in the stadium. But it's like a relay race when that discus gets thrown out and then gets handed back to someone who then hands it to someone else who then runs the discus into the actual athlete in the chair. It's quite hypnotic watching it.
It's like doing shuttle sprints for 3 hours. Sometimes you will see they'll have a remote-controlled vehicle to do that for them.
Yes, but it usually takes longer to do that than it does for the actual person to take it back. Because by the time you put it on, it either breaks down, it hits something, and doesn't. That was a foul, by the way, that one there. So no improvement in the 5th throw. It's like when they have the bright idea to bring the little truck out with a kicking tee on it in rugby. It takes forever to get out there. I've actually seen one of them hit someone's leg before when it's got out onto the pitch, so it didn't really work too well. Hence to say it didn't work again afterwards.
Hang on, the leg or the
No, the leg
car?
worked fine. The car didn't.
Just in case anyone is wondering, as I discovered as a field eventer, being out there for 3 hours is a long time. So what happens if you have to go to the bathroom? They actually have a dedicated official to take athletes to and from if that should occur. But all athletes have to remain on the field of play from start to finish.
We're checking it with the camera. Just in case if it was good, you have the distance. What is also in checking, in case of the knee moving, we're checking it. Good.
I'm just checking to see if the knee was moving then in the throw. So they've got the mark in case it wasn't a foul. I don't think it's going to make a difference because her best throw was a lot further than that one just then.
Again, the point being this is a seated throw, and so they have to ensure that no part of the leg is helping to generate any power.
Well, the official is still standing out with the mark out in the grassed area in the quadrant. They're checking it back. You can see there the officials there looking at that TV monitor, just checking back to see if it was a foul or... So the answer is quite swift there, yep.
Yeah, stop.
The marker taken away, and it is deemed a foul. So this is the final attempt. And the final attempt of the competition. As well as Karamedas, that is given a foul, a red flag, and that will be the end of the women's discus throw F57. It started around 9 o'clock this morning, it's finished around 20 past 12, and there is your champion, Nassima Saifi, who has defended the title she won last year in Paris. She had to wait a while to go, but she did the business when she was out there. Nassima Saifi, a season best 33.90. She does hold the F57 World and Championship record. She didn't get anywhere near those today, which was set back in 2019 in Dubai, but it doesn't matter. She is the champion in Kobe at the 2024 World Para-Athletics Championships. Kamdimova, despite being the Paralympic champion, has had to settle for silver for the second year in a row. She finished behind Saifi last year in Paris, and she's finished behind her again here. Here's Zhu, who picked up third place. Lifetime best of 31.55 for the Chinese athlete. She broke her own record by 6 centimeters. New lifetime best for her, and a bronze medal to boot. Kamdimova. New Asian record for the Uzbekistan athlete, but she had to settle for silver, as she did last year. 33.28, so much effort that went into it. So much happiness. At that point she was in the lead, but she was to be denied. She'll take silver again. She'll go back out when it comes to Paris to try and defend that Paralympic title. But here is the defending champion coming into it. Nassima Saifi of Algeria with a season best 33.90 to wrap up a second consecutive gold medal in the space of 10 months. Congratulations all round. Kamdimova congratulates her, as does everyone else. It's Algeria who take the gold medal, Uzbekistan with the silver, and China again in the medals, picking up the bronze through Zhu Mian. Women's discus throw F57 seated category. And that brings a close to the morning session here on day 2. We'll have more a little bit later on. Morning session with 7 finals. There'll be 11 in the evening session. It all gets underway at 5 p.m. local time. We hope to see you then. Promises to be a thrilling evening. It'll be a little bit cooler, but the athletes will bring the heat. Don't you worry about that. No doubt there'll be more championship and world records to come on that track and also on the field. The crowd will be enjoying it. We'll be enjoying it from up here. And the athletes will be hoping for something special. From myself, Tolson Tollett, Steph Reed and Will Downing, until a bit later on, 5 o'clock local time here in Kobe in Japan. Do join us then. Bye for now.
Run it up.